What would you do if the man who broke your heart invited you to watch him marry someone else? Savannah Reed stood in the rain outside Boston's most dangerous private club, holding a wedding invitation in one hand and her grandmother's ring in the other. Inside waited Declan Wolfe, a man politicians feared cops avoided, and desperate people only approached when they had nothing left to lose. She didn't want money. She didn't want revenge. She wanted one night where her ex-fiancé would look at her and realize she hadn't disappeared. But the moment Declan said yes, Savannah didn't just find a fake date. She stepped into a world of power, danger, desire, and secrets that could ruin them both. Stay until the end, because this isn't just a story about an ex's wedding. It's about the woman who finally stopped begging to be chosen, like this video and comment where you're watching from. Before Savannah Reed ever placed her hand in Declan Wolfe's and made a deal with the most dangerous man in Boston, she had been standing in front of a copy machine with toner on her sleeve, pretending not to hear two women whispering about her broken engagement. The law office smelled like burnt coffee printer heat and old carpet that had absorbed too many winters. Rain tapped against the narrow windows. Phones rang in uneven bursts. Somewhere near the conference room, a partner laughed too loudly at a joke that was not funny. Savannah stood beside the copier, watching page after page slide into the tray. Petition for temporary custody. Motion to modify support. Affidavit of financial hardship. Names, dates, pain flattened into paper. She had worked at Bellamy and Cross Family Law for almost 3 years, long enough to know which drawer stuck in the filing room, which judge hated late submissions, and which clients needed tissues before they ever sat down. She knew how to calm angry husbands in the lobby and frightened mothers in the hallway. She knew how to find lost documents, fix broken scans, and make impossible deadlines look easy. Yet, that morning, when one of the senior attorneys came out of his office holding a folder, he looked straight at her and said, "Samantha, can you get this filed before lunch?" Savannah took the folder. "It's Savannah." He was already walking away. "Right, sure, thanks." The women near the coffee station lowered their voices, but not enough. "She came in today. I thought she would take time off." "I would. I mean, can you imagine? Watching your ex marry a congressman's daughter, God, I would move states." Savannah kept her face still. She had become very good at that. Still face, steady hands, soft voice. No reaction anyone could call dramatic. The copier jammed. A red light blinked beside a small digital warning. She opened the side panel, reached in carefully, and pulled out the torn page. A black streak of ink smeared across her thumb. For a second, she stared at it. Dark against her skin. Messy, honest. Then the office manager called from the front desk. "Savannah, line 2 is asking about a retainer agreement." Savannah closed the copier panel. Got it. She washed the toner from her hands in the small bathroom beside the break room. The mirror above the sink was old, with a gray line running through the glass. It cut her reflection in half. She looked tired, not ruined exactly, just worn down in a quiet way the kind people overlooked because it did not make noise. Her dark hair was pulled into a low bun that had loosened by 10 in the morning. Her blouse was clean but plain. Her eyes looked larger than usual, maybe because she had not slept well in weeks. She leaned closer to the mirror. For one strange moment, she tried to imagine how Grant Whitmore would see her now if he walked in. He would probably smile that careful smile. The one that made people feel forgiven before they had done anything wrong. He would say, "Savannah, you look tired," not cruelly. That was the worst part. Grant rarely sounded cruel. He sounded concerned. Savannah dried her hands on a paper towel and went back to her desk. Her desk was not really a desk. It was a narrow workstation wedged between the copier and the file cabinets, close enough to the hallway that people used the edge of it to drop things they did not want to carry. Someone had left a stack of discovery requests beside her keyboard. Someone else had placed an empty mug near her phone. She moved the mug, opened her email. 27 unread messages. A calendar reminder flashed at the corner of the screen. Whitmore Hale wedding. Saturday. 4 days away. Savannah clicked it closed so fast her finger hurt. She had not put it on her calendar. The invitation must have synced from an email, or maybe Grant's old shared events had never fully disappeared from her phone. There it was anyway, bright and clean and impossible to ignore. Whitmore Hale wedding, like a legal notice from a life that had already evicted her. Savannah. She looked up. Her boss, Marianne Cross, stood beside her desk with a client file pressed to her chest. Marianne was in her late 50s, elegant in a severe way with silver blonde hair and reading glasses she wore on a chain. She was not unkind, but she had a talent for making sympathy feel like paperwork. "I need you to stay late tonight," Marianne said. "The Feldman exhibits have to be organized before tomorrow morning." Savannah glanced at the mountain of folders beside her monitor. "Of course." Marianne hesitated. Her eyes softened just a little. "I know this week may be difficult for you." Savannah felt every nearby ear turn invisible and attentive. "I'm fine." The answer came out automatically. Marianne nodded, relieved by it. "Good. I appreciate your professionalism." Professionalism. That was what people called it when a woman broke quietly. At 6:30, the office began to empty. Coats came off hooks. Chairs rolled back. Someone asked if anyone wanted drinks. No one asked Savannah. She stayed under the fluorescent light sorting photographs of bruised arms, bank statements, school records, text messages full of threats and apologies. Outside, Boston darkened into rain and traffic. The city blurred through the windows, red brake lights bleeding across wet pavement. By the time Savannah locked the file room, it was almost 9. Her phone had 4 missed calls from Mia Dawson. The 5th came as Savannah stepped out of the building. She answered before Mia could leave another message. "I'm alive, you better be," Mia said, "because I was about to call your landlord your boss, and that weird downstairs neighbor who smells like soup." Savannah pulled her coat tighter around herself and started walking toward the tea station. "Please don't involve Mr. Kaplan. Then answer your phone." How was work? That bad, normal bad? Mia was quiet for half a breath. "Did anyone mention the wedding?" Savannah stopped at the corner. Rainwater rushed along the curb carrying cigarette butts and yellow leaves toward a storm drain. "No." "Sav," they whispered, "it's different. It is not different." The light changed. Savannah crossed with the crowd, her shoes splashing through shallow puddles. "I don't want to talk about it on the street." "Then come over. I'm tired. You're always tired. That is not an answer." Savannah almost smiled. Mia had been her best friend since community college, back when Savannah still thought working hard and being kind would eventually make life open for her. Mia was all bright lipstick, big opinions, and fierce loyalty. She managed a boutique hotel in Back Bay and had the gift of making every room feel like it belonged to her, even rooms she was not supposed to enter. Savannah loved her for it. She envied her for it too. "I'll call you when I get home," Savannah said. "You better." "I will, and do not open Instagram." Savannah paused. Why Mia cursed softly. "You opened it already." "No." "Good, don't, Mia." Another pause, then Mia sighed. Audrey posted something. Bridal luncheon, champagne white dress, rich, women pretending salad is food. Grant is in one of the pictures. Savannah's fingers tightened around the phone. "Oh, do not look. I won't. I mean it. I said I won't." But after they hung up, Savannah stood on the subway platform and opened Instagram with cold fingers. Audrey Hale's profile was public, of course. Women like Audrey lived public lives because every angle had already been approved. The photo loaded slowly. A long table under a glass ceiling. White flowers. crystal glasses, women in pastel dresses. Audrey, in the center golden hair swept back, laughing with her hand near her throat. Grant stood behind her chair, one hand resting lightly on her shoulder. He looked relaxed, happy, at home in a world that had always been waiting for him. The caption read, "Almost Mrs. Whitmore." Savannah stared until the train roared into the station, pushing stale air against her face. Someone bumped her shoulder. She nearly dropped the phone. "Sorry," the stranger muttered. Savannah stepped onto the train and found a place near the door. Her reflection hovered in the dark window over the rushing tunnel. Pale face, damp hair, cheap coat, a woman holding herself together with both hands. 3 months ago, Grant had held those hands across a restaurant table. The memory rose so sharply she could smell the lemon butter from the fish he had ordered and barely touched. It had been a Tuesday. He had chosen a quiet place in Beacon Hill, the kind with low lighting and waiters who never interrupted rich people during uncomfortable conversations. Savannah had worn the navy dress Grant liked. She remembered that with a strange, sick clarity. She had thought he might be planning something sweet. Maybe an apology for being distant. Maybe a promise that once his father's campaign settled down, they would set a real wedding date. Instead, Grant had looked at her with polished sadness and said, "I need to talk to you about something difficult." Savannah had smiled because she did not yet understand. "Okay." He reached across the table and covered her hand with his. His palm was warm. His voice was gentle. "My family is under a lot of pressure right now." She waited. Grant looked down at their hands. "My father's Senate race has become more complicated. The Hale family has offered support, and there are expectations attached to that." Savannah felt the first crack of fear. What kind of expectations? Grant breathed out through his nose, as if she had asked the one question he hoped to avoid. "Audrey and I have known each other for years." The restaurant noise faded. Forks against plates, ice in glasses, a woman laughing nearby, all of it moved far away. Savannah pulled her hand back. "You're leaving me for Audrey Hale. It isn't like that. What is it like? It is political." She stared at him. He seemed almost relieved to have a word for it. "It is bigger than us, Sav." She hated that nickname in his mouth then. Soft, familiar, stolen from better days. "Bigger than us," she repeated. Grant leaned closer. "You know I care about you." "No, don't do that." His expression tightened. "Do what?" "Use your campaign voice on me." That struck him, not enough to stop him, but enough to make his eyes harden. "I am trying to be honest." Honest would have been telling me before your family negotiated my replacement. A muscle jumped in his jaw. "That is unfair," Savannah almost laughed. Unfair. He was ending a 2-year engagement over donor networks and family strategy, but her tone was unfair. Grant took a breath and softened again. "I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. I know." "No, you don't. You're sitting there explaining it like bad weather. Like this just happened to both of us." He looked away. For the first time, she saw irritation beneath his regret. "You always do this." Savannah went still. "Do what you make things smaller and quieter until no one can talk about what they really are." She blinked. Grant looked tired now, as if the truth had escaped before he could dress it properly. "You are wonderful, Savannah. You are kind. You are steady. You make life peaceful." "That sounds terrible. It is not terrible, but it is not enough." He did not answer. He did not have to. Her throat tightened. "Say it." Grant rubbed a hand over his mouth. "Savannah, say it." He looked at her then, and she saw something worse than cruelty. She saw honesty without love. "Being with you feels like living the same quiet day forever." The words were not shouted. They did not need to be. Savannah had nodded. She hated that too later. The nod. the way her body had accepted the wound before her heart knew what to do with it. Grant had reached for her again. She stood. Her chair scraped softly against the floor. A few people glanced over, then looked away. "Savannah, please." She picked up her coat. "I hope the weather works out for you." Then she walked out before the tears came. They came in the cab silently while the driver pretended not to notice. The train lurched, pulling Savannah back into the present. Her stop was next. By the time she reached her apartment in Somerville, the rain had turned thin and cold. The building smelled like old wood-wet coats and someone frying onions on the second floor. Her mailbox was dented. The hallway light flickered when she climbed the stairs. Home. That was what she called it because rent was due there. Inside the apartment was small and cluttered in ways she kept meaning to fix. A folded laundry basket sat near the couch. 2 mugs waited in the sink. A stack of unopened mail leaned against a chipped blue vase from a flea market. Savannah kicked off her shoes and stood in the silence. For a while, she did not turn on the lights. The city glow through the blinds striped the floor in pale lines. Her phone buzzed. "Mia, did you look?" Savannah typed no, then deleted it, then typed yes. The phone rang immediately. Savannah answered and sank onto the couch. "I told you not to," Mia said. "I know. How much wine do you have?" "Half a bottle." "That is not enough for betrayal and rich people." Savannah leaned her head back against the couch. She looked beautiful. Of course she did. Women with trust funds have entire teams preventing pores. Grant looked happy. Mia went quiet. Savannah closed her eyes. "I thought seeing that would make me angry. And it made me feel stupid." "You are not stupid. I was engaged to a man who thought I was a quiet day. Grant Whitmore looks like a wax figure someone taught to network. His opinion does not count." Despite herself, Savannah smiled faintly. Mia continued softer now. "Do not go to that wedding." Savannah opened her eyes. The invitation sat on the coffee table where she had thrown it 2 days earlier. Cream paper, gold letters, her name and guest. "I think I have to." "No, you absolutely do not. If I stay home, that is exactly what they expect. Let them expect it. I can't." "Why?" Savannah looked around her apartment. The laundry, the mail, the mugs, the quiet life she had built carefully because careful things did not fall apart. Except they had. "Because I spent 2 years making myself easy to keep," she said. And he still left. Mia said nothing. The silence held more understanding than any comfort could have. Savannah reached for the small wooden box on the side table. It had belonged to her grandmother. Inside, beneath a folded handkerchief, was the ring. Gold band. Tiny emerald. Simple, old, beautiful. Her grandmother had worn it every Sunday to church, and every Christmas morning while making cinnamon rolls in a faded robe. After Savannah's mother died, her grandmother had been the one who showed up with groceries, school forms, and a kind of love that did not ask to be impressive. Savannah opened the box. The emerald caught the dim light. Mia heard the hinge. "What are you doing?" Looking at Grandma's ring. "Oh, Sav. She used to say I should never give it to someone who made me feel smaller. Smart woman. I almost gave it to Grant." "But you didn't." "No." Savannah touched the ring with one finger. "And now I'm thinking about giving it to a stranger." Mia went very still on the other end. What stranger, Savannah did not answer right away. Earlier that week, in a fit of humiliation and insomnia, she had searched the Whitmore family name until the internet opened like a dark hallway. Campaign donors, real estate friends, charity boards, old photographs from galas. One image had stopped her. Senator Charles Whitmore stood at a harbor fundraiser beside a man in a black suit. The article named him as Declan Wolfe, owner of several clubs and hospitality companies across Boston. But the comments beneath the reposted photo told another story. Crime King, South Boston Wolf. Stay away from his clubs unless you have permission. Cops know. Nobody proves anything. Savannah had clicked link after link until the name became less like a man and more like a dare. Declan Wolfe. The kind of man Grant's world feared because they could not invite him to dinner and control him with silverware. Mia's voice sharpened. Savannah. What stranger? Savannah closed the ring box. Have you ever heard of Declan Wolfe? A long silence, then Mia said, No, you are lying. Yes, because I hoped if I lied fast enough you would change the subject. Mia. Why are you saying his name? I think he knows the Whitmores. Everyone dangerous knows the Whitmores. That is not a reason to approach them. Savannah stood and walked to the window. Across the street, a man with a red umbrella helped an older woman into a cab. The world went on doing ordinary things while her life sat open and bleeding behind her ribs. I need someone they cannot dismiss. You need therapy and a black dress. I need Grant to look at me and understand he did not bury me. Savannah, I am so tired of being the woman people feel sorry for. Mia's voice softened again. Then come stay with me. We will burn the invitation in a pasta bowl. I love you. I love you too, which is why I am telling you not to walk into a criminal's club with your grandmother's ring and a broken heart. Savannah stared at her reflection in the glass. For once, she did not look away from herself. What if that is all I have left? Mia exhaled shakily. Then at least let me go with you. No, that was not a request. Mia, if this goes badly, I do not want you anywhere near it. And if it goes badly for you... Savannah looked down at the ring box in her hand. The old Savannah would have said, It won't. The old Savannah would have made her voice light and safe. Instead, she said, Then I guess I will find out how brave I really am. Mia cursed again, quieter this time. Text me the address, I'm not doing that. Savannah, read. I will call you tomorrow. You better call me tonight. I'll try. I hate this. I know. Do not drink anything there, I know. Do not get into anyone's car. I know. Do not let a handsome murderer look at you like he understands your pain. Savannah paused. That was very specific. I read. For the first time all day, Savannah laughed. It came out small and cracked, but real. After they hung up, the apartment settled around her again. Savannah changed out of her work clothes and into dark jeans, a black sweater, and the same coat she had worn all winter. She took her hair down, then pulled it back again because loose hair made her feel too young, too exposed. She put the wedding invitation into her coat pocket. Then the ring. At the door, she stopped. Her hand rested on the knob. Fear moved through her clean and cold. This was insane. She knew that. Normal women did not go looking for men like Declan Wolfe. They did not walk into private clubs near the harbor and offer family heirlooms in exchange for fake romance. They did not try to heal humiliation by borrowing danger for a night. But normal women also did not get invited to watch their future marry someone else. Savannah turned back once and looked at the apartment. The couch where she had cried. The sink with the mugs. The stack of mail. The quiet life that had not protected her from being left. Then she switched off the light. The hallway outside smelled like dust and rain. Mr. Kaplan's television murmured behind his door. A baby cried somewhere upstairs. Her boots sounded too loud on the steps. By the time she reached the street, the rain had thickened again. Boston glowed under it hard and beautiful. Headlights slid across wet asphalt. Sirens wailed in the distance. A train thundered overhead, shaking loose drops from the metal tracks. Savannah walked to the station with her hands in her pockets and her heart beating so hard it felt separate from her body. On the train, no one looked at her. A college student slept with his head against the window. A nurse in blue scrubs rubbed her eyes. Two teenagers shared earbuds and whispered over a cracked phone screen. Ordinary people moving through ordinary pain. Savannah wondered how many of them were carrying invitations they wished they had never opened. She got off near the waterfront. The streets grew narrower there, older slick with reflected light. Restaurants glowed with warmth behind fogged windows. Couples leaned close over dinner. Men in wool coats stepped from black cars and disappeared through unmarked doors. Then she saw it. The Black Harbor Club. No sign, no line, just black glass, 2 guards, and the heavy quiet of a place that did not need to announce itself. Savannah stopped beneath the awning across the street. For one moment she thought of going home. She imagined the subway ride back. Her apartment, her couch, the invitation still waiting like a verdict. Saturday arriving. Grant marrying Audrey, while Savannah folded laundry and pretended peace was the same thing as dignity. Her grandmother's voice seemed to rise from somewhere old and tender inside her. Never shrink yourself to fit inside someone else's life. Savannah crossed the street. One guard noticed her first. His eyes narrowed not with surprise but with assessment. By the time she reached the door, her hands were no longer shaking. Not because she was calm, because something stronger than fear had finally taken hold. The guard stepped in front of her. Private club. Savannah looked up at him, rain slipping from her lashes. I need to see Declan Wolfe. The second guard almost smiled. Almost. Mr. Wolfe does not take walk-ins. Savannah reached into her coat and felt the velvet box against her palm. For a heartbeat, she held it there. Then she pulled it out. Tell him she said I have a trade. The guards looked at the box, then at her. Behind the black glass, the club waited without sound. Savannah stood in the rain, no longer sure whether she was about to save herself or ruin what was left. The black door opened inward, and Savannah stepped out of the rain into a world that seemed built to swallow sound. The Black Harbor Club did not feel like a nightclub. It felt like a secret with velvet walls. Low amber light floated over dark leather booths. A jazz singer murmured from somewhere unseen. Men in tailored suits leaned close over glasses of bourbon, speaking softly as if every word had a price. No one turned fully to look at Savannah. That somehow made it worse. They noticed her without moving. She felt it in the shift of eyes, the pause in a conversation, the small silence that followed her through the room. The guard, who had taken her ring box, walked ahead of her without speaking. Savannah followed him past the bar, past a corridor lined with framed black and white photographs of Boston Harbor, past a door guarded by another man with an earpiece and no expression. Her coat dripped onto the polished floor. She wanted to apologize for it. She did not. The guard stopped in front of a dark wooden door and knocked once. A voice inside said, "Send her in." The guard opened the door and stepped aside. Savannah entered. The office was warmer than the club, but not softer. Bookshelves covered one wall. A brass lamp burned on a wide desk. Beyond the windows, the harbor was black and restless, broken by strips of silver rain. Declan Wolfe sat behind the desk with her ring box in front of him. He was not what she expected. She had imagined someone loud, brutal, maybe scarred, maybe surrounded by guns and men waiting for orders. Instead, he sat alone, sleeves rolled to his forearms, dark hair slightly damp at the temples, a glass of untouched whiskey near his hand. He looked calm in a way that made the room feel more dangerous. His eyes lifted to her. Gray. Not soft, not empty either. They looked at her like they had already decided she was hiding something. "You're Savannah Reed," he said. She stopped near the chair across from him. "Yes. You work at Bellamy and Cross." Her stomach tightened. "You looked me up. You walked into my club with a ring and asked for me by name." I dislike surprises. I didn't ask for you yet. One eyebrow rose. It was such a small movement, but it changed his whole face. No, he said, you only asked my men. I stand corrected. Savannah felt heat rise in her cheeks. She hated that he could unsettle her with almost nothing. Declan tapped the velvet box once. This belonged to your grandmother. Her breath caught. How do you know that? Because a woman pawning something she bought looks different from a woman offering up the last piece of someone who loved her. The words landed too close to the truth. Savannah tightened her fingers around the wedding invitation in her coat pocket. I didn't come here to pawn it. No. You came here for theater. She looked at him. For help. Those are often the same thing. He leaned back slightly, studying her with a patience that felt almost cruel. Say it. Savannah swallowed. I need you to come with me to my ex-fiancée's wedding. The rain ticked against the windows. Declan did not laugh. That was the first thing she noticed. He opened the ring box and glanced at the emerald. For one night, yes. To pretend we are involved, yes. To humiliate Grant Whitmore in front of his family. His donors and his new bride Savannah looked away. I do not want to humiliate anyone. Declan's mouth curved faintly. No, she met his eyes again. I want to walk in and not look like he killed me. For the first time, something shifted in Declan's face. Not pity. She would have hated pity. Recognition. He closed the ring box and pushed it back across the desk. Keep it. Savannah stared at the box. I thought you would want payment. I do. Then what Declan stood. The room seemed to change around him. He did not move fast, but every step felt deliberate, like he had never crossed a room without knowing exactly who might try to stop him. He came around the desk and stood a few feet from her. 2 weeks. Savannah frowned. What does that mean? It means you will spend 2 weeks doing exactly what I tell you. Her spine stiffened. I'm not good at that. You walked in here prepared to trade your grandmother's ring for a performance. You are better at obedience than you think. The insult struck deep because it was clean and true. Savannah lifted her chin. I can leave. Yes. His eyes stayed on hers. But you will not. She hated him for knowing that. Declan continued, his voice lower now. You do not need a man on your arm. You need to stop entering rooms like you expect to be escorted out of them. You need to stop looking at your own life like it belongs to people who left. You want Grant Whitmore to regret losing you. Fine, I can help with that. But I will not walk into Newport beside a woman who still believes she was lucky to be chosen. Savannah felt the words move through her sharp and strange. And what if I cannot become whatever woman you think I need to be? Declan's gaze dropped briefly to the invitation now visible in her pocket. You already came here. That woman exists. He extended his hand. She is only badly trained. Savannah looked at his hand, then at the ring box, then at the rain beyond the glass. Every sensible part of her screamed that this was a mistake. But Grant's wedding was 4 days away in the life she had known, and somehow Declan Wolfe was offering her 2 weeks in a different one. It made no sense. It should have been impossible. Still, her hand rose. His palm closed around hers. Warm, firm, final. Deal, she said. Declan held her gaze 1 heartbeat too long. Good, we start now. Savannah blinked. Now you came here in the rain to ask a criminal for a favor. Do not pretend you have somewhere healthier to be. Before she could answer, he reached for his phone. Ruth, he said when the call connected. Prepare the East Room. Savannah's throat went dry. What East Room? Declan ended the call. Your room. I have an apartment. I am sure you do. I have a job. I am less sure why that matters. She stared at him. You cannot just move me into your house. No, you can refuse. And if I do, then wear something black to the wedding. It is traditional for funerals. Savannah should have walked out. Instead, she stood there with wet hair and aching heart, and the awful knowledge that he was right about one thing. If she went alone, they would see everything. The hurt, the humiliation, the woman Grant had left behind. So she followed Declan Wolfe through the back of the club into a private elevator and down to a waiting black car. The drive through Boston passed in silence. Savannah sat beside him in the back seat, watching rain slide across the tinted window. The city looked different from here. Colder. More expensive. Less forgiving. Streetlights smeared gold across the pavement. People hurried under umbrellas, unaware that she was sitting beside a man half the city feared, and the other half pretended not to know. Declan made one call in a low voice. She did not understand the names, but she understood the tone. Orders, not requests. After 10 minutes, she said, "Are you always like this?" He did not look at her. Like what? Certain. Now he looked. "I am not certain. I am prepared. There is a difference. A large one." The car turned toward the seaport, then entered a private garage beneath a glass tower that rose into the rain like a blade. Declan's penthouse occupied the top floor. Savannah knew that because the elevator did not stop for anyone else. When the doors opened, she stepped into a space so clean and beautiful it almost frightened her. Black marble floors, white walls, steel-framed windows overlooking the harbor. Furniture arranged with perfect distance as if no one had ever fallen asleep there or left a book open or cried into a pillow at 2 a.m. It was not a home. It was evidence. A woman in her 60s stood near the entry table, silver hair twisted into a neat bun posture straight enough to shame a soldier. "Miss Reed," she said. Savannah looked at Declan. "You told her my name. I told you I dislike surprises." The woman took Savannah's wet coat without waiting to be asked. "I am Ruth Bell. I manage the residence. Your room is ready. Breakfast is at 6. In the morning, Ruth paused. Her expression did not change. "Yes." Savannah nodded, embarrassed. "Right, of course." Declan was already walking away. "Get some sleep." Savannah followed Ruth down a hallway. The guest room was larger than Savannah's entire apartment. A wide bed stood facing the windows. Fresh towels were stacked in the bathroom. A silk robe hung behind the door. Someone had placed a glass of water and a small vase of white flowers on the nightstand. Savannah stood in the center of the room, still holding her bag. Ruth looked at her for a moment. "There is a lock on the door," she said. Savannah glanced at her. Ruth's voice softened by the smallest degree. "Use it if it helps." Then she left. Savannah locked the door. Only then did she let herself breathe. The bed was too soft. The room was too quiet. Every object seemed to know its purpose better than she did. She took the ring box from her pocket and placed it on the nightstand. Then she pulled out the wedding invitation. The gold letters glimmered under the lamp. Grant Whitmore and Audrey Hale. Saturday. Savannah turned it face down. At 5:57 the next morning, Ruth knocked once and opened the door without waiting. Savannah sat up, hair tangled, heart racing. "Breakfast in 3 minutes," Ruth said. Savannah stared at her. "I'm not dressed, I noticed." Ruth closed the door. Savannah arrived in the dining room 11 minutes later, wearing yesterday's jeans and a sweater she had slept in for 3 hours. Declan sat at the table reading a newspaper. An actual newspaper, like a villain in an old movie. He looked up. "You're late. I was abducted into luxury after midnight. You agreed to come. Under emotional distress. Then distress faster." Savannah dropped into the chair across from him. Ruth set a plate before her. Eggs, toast, berries, coffee, black enough to qualify as a warning. Declan folded the paper. Eat. I'm not hungry. You will be. She picked up her fork because arguing with him before coffee felt like losing a fight she had not entered. Declan watched her for a moment. Tell me about Grant. The fork stopped halfway to her mouth. No. Yes. I thought we were working on me. We are. He is where you learn to disappear. Savannah set the fork down. The room felt too bright. He did not make me disappear. Declan leaned back. No. No. Then why did you lower your voice when you said his name? Savannah looked away. Outside the windows, dawn spread pale over the harbor. Boats moved across the water, small and distant. We were together for 2 years, she said. He was kind at first, attentive. He listened when I talked. He made me feel like being calm was beautiful. And later calm became boring. Declan said nothing. That was worse than interruption. Savannah rubbed her thumb against the edge of the napkin. He came from money, old political money. His father is Senator Charles Whitmore. His mother runs charity boards like military campaigns. Everyone in that family knows how to smile for cameras and cut people in private. And you wanted to marry into that, I wanted to marry him. Declan's eyes stayed on her. Those are rarely the same thing. Savannah hated that he kept saying things she had only recently begun to suspect. He said I was steady, she continued. Dependable, peaceful, and you heard loved. Her throat tightened. Yes. Declan's face was unreadable. And now I hear convenient. A silence settled between them. Not empty, heavy. Declan nodded once. Good. Savannah looked up sharply. Good truth is useful. It also hurts. Most useful things do. He stood and gestured toward the open living room. Come here. She followed him, still irritated, still barefoot, still trying not to feel like a schoolgirl summoned for correction. Declan stopped near the center of the room. Walk to the windows. Savannah blinked. What walk? She crossed the room. Again, she turned. You are joking. I rarely bother. She walked again. Declan's gaze moved over her with clinical focus. Again. Savannah's patience thinned. Is this some mafia intimidation exercise? No. This is worse. Posture. She stared at him. He stepped closer, stopping just outside her space. You lead with your shoulders rounded forward. Your steps are too small. Your eyes drop before you reach the other side of the room. I am walking normally. You are walking like you expect someone to ask why you are here. The words sliced through her irritation. Declan pointed back to the far end of the room. Again, Savannah walked. Chin up. She lifted it. Not like that. You look like you are trying not to cry. I might be. Save it for Grant's wedding. It will ruin the photographs. She spun toward him. You are unbelievable. There. Use that. What? That anger. Walk with it. Savannah stared at him. Then she turned and crossed the room again. This time, her steps were harder. Better, Declan said. Because I am mad at you. Most confidence begins somewhere less elegant. Again and again and again. By the 10th pass, her feet hurt. By the 15th, she stopped thinking about her shoulders. By the 20th, she caught her reflection in the window and almost did not recognize the woman moving through Declan's living room. Not graceful yet. Not powerful, but present. Declan saw the moment she noticed. His voice dropped. There she is. Savannah turned from the glass. For some reason, those 3 words hit harder than Grant's cruelty. She looked away before Declan could see it. They spent the rest of the morning working on silence, not conversation. Silence. Declan made her sit across from him and hold eye contact without filling the air. At first, she laughed nervously. He did not. Then she looked away. He corrected her. Then she got angry. He approved. You do not have to entertain discomfort, he said. Let other people drown in it. That sounds rude. It is often mistaken for power. After lunch, Ruth brought in a rack of clothes. Savannah stared at the dresses, blouses, trousers, coats, and shoes arranged by color and fabric. No. Declan looked up from his phone. No, I am not letting you buy me a new identity. You do not have an identity. You have habits. That is insulting. It is accurate. She grabbed the sleeve of a black dress. These cost more than my rent. Probably. That should concern you. It concerns me that you think cheapness is moral. Savannah let go of the fabric. I think I do not want to owe you more than I already do. Declan's face changed slightly. For the first time that day, he looked less like an instructor and more like a man deciding whether to be honest. You do not owe me for clothes. That is not how money works. It is how mine works. Convenient. His mouth twitched. Try the green one. She did not move. Savannah. The way he said her name made something in her chest tighten. Not soft, not sweet, certain. She took the green dress from the rack and disappeared into the guest room. The dress fit like it had been waiting for her. Dark, emerald, silk, simple lined sleeves that slipped off the shoulder just enough to feel dangerous without begging for attention. The fabric moved when she breathed. It made her skin look warmer, her eyes brighter. She stepped out slowly. Declan stood near the window speaking quietly to Cole Mercer, his right-hand man. Cole was younger than Declan, with watchful eyes and a scar at his jaw. He looked at Savannah once and immediately looked away, not rudely, but with discipline. Declan turned. Whatever he had been saying ended. Savannah felt the silence reach her before his eyes did. She folded her arms. It is too much. No, it is not me. Declan walked closer. Who told you that? She opened her mouth. No answer came. He stopped in front of her close enough that she could see the faint shadow beneath his eyes. This is not about fabric, he said. It is about whether you can stand being seen without assuming you stole the light. Savannah looked down at the dress. I feel like I am pretending. Everyone is pretending. The only difference is some people get rewarded for it. She looked up. Are you pretending? His eyes held hers. Every day. The answer was too honest, too quiet. Cole cleared his throat from across the room. Declan stepped back. Keep the dress. Savannah touched the silk at her hip. I have nowhere to wear it. You do now. That evening, after hours of walking, sitting, answering imaginary insults, and learning how not to apologize when Ruth handed her tea, Savannah found Declan on the balcony. Boston spread below them, cold and glittering. Wind moved in from the harbor carrying salt and rain. Declan stood with one hand around a glass. His jacket off his shirt sleeves rolled again. He did not turn when she stepped outside. Couldn't sleep, he asked. I have been awake for 18 hours in a stranger's penthouse after practicing eye contact like a hostage. Sleep feels optimistic. Now he did look at her. The corner of his mouth shifted, almost a smile. Savannah leaned against the railing, leaving space between them. Do people ever say no to you? Yes. What happens? I respect it. She gave him a look. He took a sip from his glass. Depending on the context, the wind lifted a strand of hair across her cheek. She tucked it back. Why do you hate the Whitmores? Declan's face closed. There it was. A door slamming without sound. I did not say I hated them. You said they owed you something. They do. What? He looked out at the harbor. A debt they pretend is history. Savannah waited. This time she let the silence do what he had taught her. Declan noticed. His gaze cut back to her. Careful. Of what learning too quickly. She smiled faintly. I had a strict teacher. For a moment the air between them changed. Not warm exactly. Charged. Declan looked at her like he was seeing the green dress, the tired eyes, the stubborn chin, and something beneath all of it he had not expected to find. Savannah felt her pulse pick up. She looked away first. Not because she was afraid of him, because she was afraid she was not. The next days blurred into a rhythm that belonged to someone else's life. Morning posture, breakfast interrogations, afternoon conversation drills, evening dinners where Declan taught her how rich people hid knives inside compliments. He played Grant's mother with such smooth cruelty that Savannah nearly threw a napkin at him. "Savannah, dear," he said in a voice so sweet it made her skin crawl. "How brave of you to come. I know this must be difficult." Savannah gripped her wineglass. "It is a wedding, Mrs. Whitmore, not a battlefield." Declan tilted his head, still in character. "For some women, those are the same thing." Savannah inhaled slowly, then smiled. "You would know better than I would. You have survived more society events than anyone in Boston." Declan dropped the voice. "Good. Was that an insult?" "It was a mirror. They hate those. They practiced Grant, too." That was harder. Declan softened his face, changed his posture, and somehow became the man who had left her in a restaurant with her heart still beating in her hands. "Savannah," he said gently, "I just want to make sure you are not doing this because you are hurt." Her throat closed. Declan waited. She wanted to look away. She did not. "I was hurt," she said. "Then I was embarrassed. Then I was angry. Tonight I am simply busy." Declan's eyes sharpened. "With what?" She lifted her chin. "Enjoying the wedding." He stared at her for a beat, then nodded. "That one. What? Use that." By the end of the first week, Savannah stopped apologizing when she asked for coffee. By the 9th day, she stopped flinching when Declan corrected her. By the 10th, she corrected him. "You are doing it again," she said at dinner. Declan looked up. Doing what? Pretending not to care because it makes people easier to manage. Ruth paused in the doorway with a tray. Cole looked very interested in his phone. Declan set down his fork. "Is that so?" Savannah's stomach dipped, but she kept her voice even. "Yes." A silence stretched. Then Declan leaned back, eyes unreadable. "Explain. You push before anyone can ask you to stay. You make every room yours so no one can notice you do not belong anywhere either." Cole coughed once. Ruth disappeared so quickly it was almost elegant. Declan said nothing. Savannah's courage faltered. "I'm sorry." His eyes narrowed. She caught herself. "No. I am not sorry. That was true." For a long moment, Declan only looked at her. Then he said, "Better." But his voice was quieter than before. That night, Savannah stood in front of the mirror in the emerald dress. The wedding was 2 days away. Her hair fell loose around her shoulders. Ruth had insisted she learn how to pin it up, then watched her fail with the patience of a disappointed queen. Her feet still ached from heels. Her mind still replayed every possible way she could walk into Newport and break apart under the weight of their eyes. But the woman in the mirror did not look broken. She looked nervous, alive, dangerous in a new way. A knock sounded at the open door. Declan stood in the hallway. Black suit, no tie, one hand in his pocket. "You are ready," he said. Savannah looked at his reflection. "You keep saying that because you keep waiting to believe it." She turned. "What if I fall apart when I see him?" "Then you breathe, stand up straight, and remember that falling apart is not the same as disappearing." The words settled between them. Savannah looked at him, really looked, at the man who wore control like armor, at the shadows beneath his calm, at the loneliness in the penthouse that no amount of money could decorate away. "Do you ever let yourself fall apart?" she asked. Declan's expression did not change. No. Why his eyes held hers? Because people die when I do. Savannah had no answer for that. Declan stepped closer and reached for the necklace Ruth had chosen for the dress. The clasp had twisted near her collarbone. His fingers brushed her skin as he fixed it. The touch was brief. It did not feel brief. Savannah forgot the mirror, the dress, the wedding, even Grant. Declan's hand stilled. For one dangerous second, neither of them moved. Then he stepped back. The distance returned, but it felt thinner now. "Get some sleep," he said. Savannah watched him walk away. When he disappeared down the hall, she faced the mirror again. The woman looking back was still Savannah Reed, but she no longer looked like someone waiting outside a life that would not open. She looked like someone who had found the door, and this time when it opened, she intended to walk through first. Morning came pale and cold over Boston, spreading gray light across Declan Wolfe's penthouse like ash. Savannah woke before Ruth knocked. For a long moment she stayed still beneath the smooth white sheets, staring at the ceiling she had memorized over the past 2 weeks. The room no longer felt strange, but it did not feel like hers either. It felt borrowed. Like the dress hanging on the wardrobe door. Like the confidence Declan had taught her to wear. Like the version of herself waiting in the mirror. Today, Grant Whitmore was getting married. The thought did not break her open the way it once had. It still hurt, but the pain had changed shape. It was no longer a knife twisting under her ribs. It was a bruise pressed by memory. Tender, yes. Alive, yes. But survivable. Savannah sat up and looked at the emerald dress. For 2 weeks, Declan had stripped away every apology she carried in her body. He had taught her how to enter a room without begging it to accept her. He had taught her how to let silence work for her instead of rushing to fill it. He had taught her that people who smiled while hurting you deserved no special mercy. Still knowing how to stand was different from standing in front of the man who had taught you to kneel. A knock came at the door. Ruth entered with a garment steamer in one hand and the expression of a woman who had never once been late to anything in her life. "You are awake," Ruth said. "I was afraid not to be." "That is sensible." Savannah almost smiled. Ruth crossed to the wardrobe and inspected the dress with the seriousness of a general checking weapons before battle. "Hair and makeup arrive in 15 minutes. I can do my own makeup." Ruth glanced at her reflection in the mirror. "I am aware." Savannah narrowed her eyes. Was that an insult? No. It was a fact. Today requires more than competence. Ruth turned on the steamer. Steam rose in soft white clouds, briefly hiding the dress. Savannah watched the fabric shift and breathe. "Does he do this often?" she asked. Ruth did not look up. "Send women to weddings. Bring people here. Fix them." The steamer hissed. "Mr. Wolfe does not fix people." Savannah looked at her. "What does he do?" Ruth smoothed the dress with careful fingers. "He notices what others have broken." The answer stayed with Savannah through the next 3 hours. Women arrived with black cases and quiet efficiency. One worked through Savannah's hair, twisting it into soft waves pinned low at the nape of her neck. Another warmed color over her cheeks and painted her mouth a deep rose that made her eyes seem steadier. They asked practical questions. "Look up, look down, hold still, turn your chin." No one asked if she was afraid. Savannah was grateful. Fear was easier to manage when no one invited it to speak. When they finished, Ruth helped her into the emerald dress. The silk slid over Savannah's skin like water at night. The neckline framed her collarbones. The waist fit perfectly. The skirt moved around her legs with a quiet whisper. Ruth fastened the clasp at the back. "There," she said. Savannah turned toward the mirror. For a moment, she forgot to breathe. The woman looking back at her was not Audrey Hale. She was not a senator's daughter. She was not polished by generations of private schools and charity luncheons. She was not born for rooms where champagne came in crystal, and every smile concealed a calculation. But she looked like she could survive them. More than that, she looked like she had chosen to enter. Behind her, Ruth's face softened so slightly that Savannah might have imagined it. "Your grandmother would approve." Savannah touched the ring box on the vanity. She had decided not to wear the ring. Not today. Today it belonged somewhere safe. "Thank you," she said. Ruth nodded once. Then the air shifted. Savannah saw him in the mirror before she turned. Declan stood in the doorway in a charcoal suit cut so cleanly it seemed less like clothing and more like intent. His black shirt was open at the throat. No tie, no ornament, nothing unnecessary. He looked like every warning Savannah had ignored. His eyes moved over her slowly, not in a way that made her feel exposed, but in a way that made her feel seen. Completely. "You look ready," he said. Savannah met his gaze in the mirror. "That is not the same as feeling ready." "No." He stepped into the room. "But it is enough." Ruth left without a word, closing the door behind her. Savannah turned. The room felt smaller with Declan in it. What if I forget everything you will not? What if his mother says something and I freeze, you will not? What if I see him and all I can remember is the restaurant Declan came closer, stopping just in front of her? Then remember this room instead. Savannah looked at him. This room. Yes, remember standing here after 2 weeks of choosing not to disappear. Remember that you came to me with rain in your hair and a ring in your pocket because some part of you already knew Grant Whitmore was wrong about you. Her throat tightened. Declan reached up and adjusted a loose curl near her cheek. His fingers barely touched her skin. "You are not going there to prove you survived," he said. "You are going there because you did." Savannah's lips parted, but no words came. Declan stepped back before the silence could become something neither of them was prepared to name. "The car is waiting." The drive to Newport took a little over an hour. Boston gave way to wet highways, stone walls, bare trees, and glimpses of the Atlantic under a silver sky. Savannah sat beside Declan in the back of a black SUV, hands folded in her lap, watching the world pass in streaks of gray and green. Declan made no calls. That unsettled her more than if he had spent the whole ride speaking in that low, controlled voice to men who obeyed without questions. Finally, she looked over. "You are quiet, so are you. I am panicking, I know." She frowned. "You know, you have tapped your thumb against your ring finger 42 times since we left Boston." Savannah looked down and immediately stopped. Declan's mouth curved faintly. 43. Despite everything, she laughed. It came out soft and startled. Declan looked at her, then really looked, and the car seemed to hold its breath around them. Savannah turned back to the window before her face could betray her. Newport appeared like a painting arranged for people with inherited money. Gray ocean. White fences. Sweeping lawns. Houses too large to be called houses. The Whitmore estate sat on a rise above the water, all pale stone, tall windows, and careful grandeur. White tents bloomed across the lawn. Valets moved between black cars. Guests in expensive coats drifted toward the entrance, smiling through the cold. Savannah's stomach tightened. Declan reached across the seat and took her hand. Not for show. Not yet. His palm was warm. "Breathe," he said. "I am. You are negotiating with oxygen again." She inhaled slowly. Then again. The SUV rolled to a stop. Through the tinted window, Savannah saw heads turning toward the car. Not many. Enough. "Once we step out," Declan said, "they will stare." "I know. Let them. The driver opened Declan's door. He stepped out first, buttoned his suit jacket, then turned back and offered his hand. Savannah looked at it. The same hand that had made a deal with her in the Black Harbor Club. The same hand that had corrected her posture, steadied her necklace, poured her coffee, and pushed her past every excuse she had used to stay small. She took it. The cold air hit her as she stepped onto the drive. For 1 second, the whole world seemed to pause. A woman near the entrance stopped mid-sentence. A man in a navy suit turned his head. Someone whispered, "Is that Declan Wolfe?" Another voice answered, "With Savannah Reed." Savannah heard her own name ripple through strangers like gossip catching flame. Her old instinct rose fast. Look down, move quickly, make yourself less visible. Then Declan's thumb brushed once over her knuckles. Savannah straightened. The estate rose before her. Grant's family waited inside. Audrey's family. Donors. Friends. People who had seen Savannah standing beside Grant at fundraisers, quiet and useful. People who had decided her absence from his life made perfect sense. Savannah lifted her chin. She walked beside Declan through the front entrance. Not behind him. Beside him. Inside the foyer gleamed with white flowers, gold candlelight, and polished marble. A string quartet played somewhere beyond the main hall. Champagne passed on silver trays. The air smelled of roses, perfume, and money. Patricia Whitmore found her within 30 seconds. Grant's aunt was narrow elegant and famously kind in public. Savannah had once spent an entire charity dinner listening to Patricia explain which forks were used for which courses while pretending it was helpful. Now, Patricia approached with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Savannah," she said. "What a surprise. Translation, you were not supposed to come." Savannah smiled back. "Patricia, the estate looks beautiful." Patricia's gaze flicked over the emerald dress, then to Declan. "And you brought a guest." "I did." Declan extended his hand. Declan Wolfe. Patricia accepted it because refusing would be rude, but her fingers stiffened the moment his name registered. "Wolfe," she said, "of course. I believe we have seen each other at a few events." Declan's expression remained polite. "I remember people who matter." Patricia could not tell whether that was a compliment. Savannah could. She took a glass of champagne from a passing tray and held it without drinking. Patricia recovered. "Well, we are so glad you could join us, Savannah. I imagine today must be emotional." There it was. The first blade wrapped in silk. Savannah let a soft pause settle. Then she said, "Weddings usually are." Patricia's smile tightened. "How gracious of you. I learned from watching families like yours." Declan's shoulder brushed hers barely. Approval. Patricia excused herself a moment later, already turning toward a cluster of women who pretended not to be listening. Savannah let out a quiet breath. Declan leaned closer. "That was clean. My knees are shaking. Good thing the dress hides them." She glanced at him. "You are terrible at comfort. I am excellent at function." The ceremony was held beneath a glass pavilion overlooking the water. White chairs lined the aisle. Pale flowers climbed every column. The ocean beyond the windows moved under the gray sky, restless and cold. Guests took their seats with the practiced grace of people who believed seating arrangements revealed social rank. Declan guided Savannah to a place near the back but not too far back. Strategic. Visible but not pleading for attention. Savannah recognized faces. Donors from campaign events. Whitmore cousins. Friends of Grant who had once treated her like furniture with a pleasant voice. Some looked away quickly. Others stared with open curiosity. She did not shrink. The music changed. Grant appeared at the front. Savannah's heart gave one hard pull. He looked exactly as she remembered. Tall, blonde, handsome in that clean public way. His tuxedo fit perfectly. His smile was controlled. His hair was immaculate. He stood beside the officiant as if he had been born under chandeliers and applause. For 2 years, she had thought that smile meant safety. Now, from across the room, it looked like campaign material. Declan's hand found hers. Savannah did not look at him. She held on. Audrey Hale entered on her father's arm. The room inhaled. Audrey was beautiful, not soft beautiful. Designed beautiful, every detail in place. The gown, the veil, the pearls at her ears, the serene smile. Savannah could not hate her. That annoyed her a little. Audrey was not the woman who had ruined her life. She was simply the woman chosen for the life Grant wanted more. Grant's eyes shone when Audrey reached him. Maybe he loved her. Maybe he loved what she made possible. Maybe, for men like Grant, those things had never been separate. The vows began. Savannah listened to words about loyalty, partnership, devotion, and choosing each other every day. The phrases floated through the room, sweet and polished. She wondered how many people there believed them. She wondered how many had built entire lives on arrangements and called them love because the invitations looked beautiful. Grant slid a ring onto Audrey's finger. Savannah felt something inside her loosen. Not break, loosen. The part of her that had still been waiting for an apology quietly stopped waiting. When the officiant announced them, husband and wife applause filled the pavilion. Grant kissed Audrey. Everyone stood. Savannah rose with them. As the couple walked back down the aisle, Grant's eyes moved across the guests, smiling, accepting congratulations before anyone spoke. Then he saw her. Savannah felt the moment land. His gaze stopped on her face, dropped to the dress, moved to Declan, then to their joined hands. Grant's smile flickered, only for a second, but Savannah saw it. So did Declan. Grant passed them without speaking. Savannah exhaled. Declan murmured, still breathing. She looked straight ahead, better than that. The reception unfolded in a ballroom facing the cliffs. Crystal chandeliers glowed above white flowers and gold table settings. Waiters moved like shadows. Champagne appeared before glasses emptied. The band played old standards softened for rich ears. Savannah and Declan were seated with a judge, 2 donors, and a woman who introduced herself as a museum trustee while looking at Savannah as if she were an exhibit. Conversation moved around the table. Campaigns, real estate, sailing, a winter gala. Declan spoke rarely, but when he did, everyone listened. Savannah watched it happen. Men who might have dismissed him in daylight leaned toward him at dinner. Women who feared his name still wanted his attention. He did not chase power in the room. He let it come to him. Halfway through the second course, the museum trustee turned to Savannah. "And how did you and Mr. Wolfe meet?" The table quieted by half a degree. Savannah set down her fork. "Through mutual interests." The woman smiled. "How mysterious." "Not really. Boston is smaller than people like to pretend." Declan lifted his glass, hiding the faint curve of his mouth. The judge asked Declan about a property development near the harbor, and the attention shifted. Savannah took one slow breath. She was doing it. Not perfectly, not without fear, but doing it. After dinner, the first dance began. Grant and Audrey moved across the floor beneath a wash of golden light. They danced beautifully. Of course they did. Nothing about this wedding had been allowed to look unrehearsed. When the music changed, other couples joined. Declan stood and offered Savannah his hand. She stared at it. No. His brow lifted. No. We did not practice dancing. We practiced balance. Declan, Savannah. The way he said her name made refusal feel childish. She placed her hand in his. He led her onto the floor. The heat of his hand settled at her waist. Her fingers rested against his shoulder. He moved with quiet control, guiding her easily into the rhythm. Savannah tried to focus on the steps. It was impossible. He was too close. The scent of him was dark and clean, something like cedar smoke and cold air. His jaw was near her temple. His hand was steady at her back. The ballroom blurred at the edges. "You are thinking again," he said. "I was told that is healthy. Not in public." She fought a smile. "Do you ever say anything normal, only under duress?" They turned slowly beneath the chandelier light. Savannah felt eyes on them. She felt the questions. Why her? Why him? How long did Grant know? Did Audrey Declan's voice lowered? They are wondering whether they missed something. Savannah looked up. Did they? His eyes held hers. Yes. Her breath caught. Before she could answer, she saw Grant over Declan's shoulder. He was dancing with Audrey, but his eyes were on Savannah. Not lovingly, not sadly, possessively, as if she were a book he had donated and now wanted back because someone else had called it rare. Declan noticed her focus. "He is watching you." "I know. How does it feel?" Savannah thought the answer would be satisfaction. It was not. It was quieter. Stranger. "It feels like he is late." Declan's hand tightened slightly at her waist. Good. The song ended. Savannah stepped back before she forgot the room entirely. "I need air." Declan studied her face. "Terrace. East doors. I will be inside, giving orders, making sure no one else does." She slipped away before he could see her smile. The terrace overlooked the darkening ocean. Wind moved over the cliffs, lifting loose strands from her hair. Savannah gripped the stone railing and breathed in salt air until the tightness in her chest eased. Behind her, the ballroom glowed with music and laughter. For the first time all day she was alone. Then Grant said her name. Savannah. She closed her eyes once. When she turned, he stood near the terrace doors, one hand in his pocket, his wedding ring already bright on his finger. Grant. He looked at her as if he had rehearsed this and still found the reality inconvenient. "I wasn't sure you would come. You invited me. I know. Then I came." His mouth tightened. "You look different." Savannah smiled faintly. "So do you. Married mostly." "That is not what I meant." "No, I know what you meant." He stepped closer. "Is this about punishing me?" The question was so Grant that she almost laughed. "You really think my life is still organized around your feelings?" "Hurt," flashed across his face, then vanished beneath concern. "I think you are hurt. I think you showed up with Declan Wolfe because you wanted to make a point." "I did want to make a point. At least you admit it." Savannah looked at him steadily. "The point was that I am still standing." Grant's voice softened. "Sav, I never wanted you destroyed." The nickname touched an old wound and found no blood. "No, you wanted me understanding, quiet, grateful for your honesty." "That is not fair. There it is." His expression shifted. "What?" "That word. Fair. You always reached for it when I got too close to the truth." Grant looked toward the ballroom, then back at her. "You do not know what my family was dealing with." "You are right, I do not. But I know what I was dealing with. I was dealing with a man who let me plan a future while his family negotiated a better one." His face hardened. "Audrey is not a negotiation." "Maybe not. Maybe you love her. I hope you do." That seemed to disarm him. Savannah continued, voice quiet but firm. "But do not stand here on your wedding day and pretend you came outside because you are worried about me. You came because I walked in without asking your permission to be okay." Grant stared at her. For the first time he looked less polished, more human, less impressive. "You are making a mistake with him." he said. The softness was gone now. There it is. I mean it. You have no idea who Declan Wolfe is. I know enough. No, you do not. Men like him do not date women like you. The words struck, but they did not sink. Savannah tilted her head. Women like me, Grant, seemed to hear himself too late. I mean, civilians, normal people. No, you meant women who should know their place. Savannah. She stepped closer. No. Let me help you. I was good enough when I made your life peaceful. I was good enough when I sat beside you at dinners and smiled at people who forgot my name. I was good enough when I asked for nothing. But the moment I walked in with someone you could not dismiss suddenly, I became concerning. Grant's jaw clenched. He is dangerous. So were you, just quieter. That landed. His hand shot out, catching her wrist before she could turn away. Savannah, listen to me. The old Savannah would have frozen. This one looked down at his hand, then back up at him. Let go, he did not. A voice cut through the cold. She asked you once. Declan stood at the terrace entrance. No raised voice. No dramatic movement. Just stillness. Grant released her immediately. Declan walked forward, eyes fixed on him. You have a bride inside. Grant straightened, trying to recover himself. We were talking. You were finished. The wind moved between them. Grant looked at Savannah, then at Declan. For one reckless second, Savannah thought he might argue. Then he saw whatever lived behind Declan's eyes and chose his new marriage over his pride. Enjoy your evening, Grant said. His voice was thin. Then he went back inside. Savannah's knees weakened. Declan was beside her at once, one hand steadying her elbow. Did he hurt you? No. Savannah? No, she said, voice shaking now. Not this time. Declan looked toward the doors Grant had disappeared through. Something lethal moved across his face. Savannah placed her hand on his sleeve. Don't. His eyes returned to her. He grabbed you, and I told him to let go. He did not. You made him. A beat passed. Then she said, But I said it first. Declan's expression changed. The anger remained, but something else broke through it. Pride, maybe. Fear, too. Yes, he said quietly. You did. Inside, the music swelled. Savannah looked through the glass at the ballroom, at the flowers and chandeliers and people who had spent all day waiting to see whether she would collapse. She had not. She had walked in. She had smiled. She had danced. She had faced Grant Whitmore and left him standing with nothing but the truth. I want to go, she said. Declan nodded. He did not ask if she was sure. He simply offered his hand. Savannah took it. They moved through the ballroom without hurry. A few guests watched them leave. Patricia Whitmore saw them from across the room and stiffened. Audrey glanced over from near the cake table, her expression unreadable. Grant was nowhere in sight. Outside, the cold hit Savannah's face like clean water. The valet brought the SUV around. Declan opened the door for her. Before she climbed in, Savannah turned back once. The Whitmore estate glowed against the dark cliffside, bright and perfect and far away. For 2 years, she had thought that world was a door she needed opened. Now it looked like a room she was glad to leave. She slid into the car. Declan joined her on the other side. The driver pulled away from the estate tires, whispering over wet gravel. Savannah watched the lights shrink behind them. Her chest ached, but beneath it was something wide and unfamiliar. Space. Declan said nothing. That was his comfort, she realized. Not words. Presence. Half a mile from the estate, his phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen. His face went still. Savannah noticed at once. "What is it?" "Nothing." She turned fully toward him. "I know what your nothing looks like now." Declan looked out the rear window. Savannah followed his gaze. A black sedan turned onto the road behind them. No headlights at first. Then they came on bright and white in the dark. Declan's voice changed when he spoke to the driver. "Do not take the highway." Savannah's hand tightened around the seat. The wedding was behind them, but Declan Wolf's world had started following them home. The black sedan stayed 3 cars behind them through the first turn, then 2 cars behind them at the next light. Savannah watched it through the rear window until her reflection floated over the glass, pale and tense above the dark road. Declan did not move beside her, but the air in the SUV changed. His shoulders became still. His face emptied. Even his breathing seemed quieter, as if some colder version of him had stepped forward and taken control. "Who is that?" Savannah asked. Declan looked at the driver. "Left on Bellevue." The driver answered without turning. "Yes, sir." Savannah's hand tightened against the leather seat. "Declan." He reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone. "Cole," he said when the call connected. "We have company leaving Newport. Black sedan, Rhode Island plates, 2 men inside." A pause. "No, not Whitmore." The SUV turned left away from the main road. The sedan followed. Savannah's pulse thudded once hard. Declan looked at her then. "Put on your seatbelt. It is already on. Check it." She did. Her fingers were clumsy. The belt was locked. Declan spoke into the phone again. "Send a car south. No lights. I want them boxed before the bridge if possible." Savannah stared at him. "This is because of the wedding." Declan's eyes flicked to hers. "This is because of me. That is not an answer. It is the only one you need right now." Outside, Newport's graceful streets blurred past. Old mansions sat behind iron gates. Wet hedges shone under street lamps. The whole town looked quiet and expensive, too beautiful for fear. The driver took another turn. The sedan followed. Savannah's mouth went dry. Declan leaned forward, one hand braced against the back of the front seat. "Do not stop at the next light." The driver's voice stayed calm. "Understood." Savannah looked ahead. The traffic light turned yellow, then red. The SUV did not slow. It cut through the intersection just as a horn blared from the cross street. Savannah grabbed the door handle. Behind them, the black sedan surged forward, running the same light. Declan said, "Now." A second black vehicle appeared from a side street with its headlights off, sliding behind the sedan like a shadow. The sedan swerved tires, screaming against wet pavement, then accelerated hard and disappeared down a narrow road toward the water. Declan watched until it vanished. His face remained unreadable. Cole's voice must have said something on the phone, because Declan answered no pursuit. "Not here. Too public." He ended the call. For several seconds, no one spoke. The SUV merged onto the road, heading back toward Boston. Savannah stared at the empty place where the sedan had been. Her hands were shaking again. Declan saw. "Savannah." She turned toward him slowly. "Do not tell me I am safe." His jaw tightened. "I was not going to." That frightened her more than a lie would have. The rest of the drive passed in heavy silence. Declan made 2 more calls, both short, both quiet. He used names Savannah did not know and places she could not place. His voice was controlled, but there was a tension beneath it like a blade pressed flat under silk. Savannah watched him in the dim light of passing cars. This was not the man who had taught her how to walk through a room. Not the man who had played Grant's mother with poisonous sweetness or fixed her necklace with fingers gentle enough to make her forget herself. This was Declan Wolf as Boston knew him. Cold, precise, dangerous. And she was sitting beside him in an emerald dress from a wedding that suddenly felt like another lifetime. When they reached the garage beneath his building, Declan got out first. He scanned the space before offering her his hand. Savannah did not take it immediately. "Are we being followed? No. That does not mean no, does it?" His eyes met hers. "It means not now." She stepped out of the SUV without touching him. The elevator ride up to the penthouse felt longer than it ever had. Savannah stood on one side, Declan on the other, the mirrored walls reflecting them back at strange angles. Her dress still looked perfect. Her hair was still pinned. Her mouth was still painted. She looked like a woman returning from a victory. She felt like a woman being escorted into a storm. The elevator doors opened. Ruth was waiting in the entryway. One look at Declan's face and hers changed. "Sir, tell Cole to use the north entrance when he arrives. No one comes up without confirmation from me." "Yes." Ruth's eyes moved to Savannah. Something soft passed through them, then disappeared. "Miss Reed, may I help you out of the dress?" Savannah opened her mouth to say yes. Declan answered first. "She can manage." The words were sharp enough to cut the room. Ruth went still. Savannah turned to him. "Excuse me." Declan removed his jacket and tossed it over the back of a chair. "You should get some sleep." "No." His gaze lifted. "No, no. You do not get to bring me back here after we were followed and then dismiss me like I am an inconvenient guest." His expression did not change, but the temperature of the room seemed to drop. "This is not a conversation you want to have tonight. You do not know what conversations I want to have. I know which ones keep you alive." Savannah laughed once without humor. "There it is." Declan looked at Ruth. "Leave us." Ruth hesitated. Then she left, closing the hallway door behind her. The penthouse became too quiet. Savannah stood in the middle of the room in the green dress, still wearing the face she had put on for the Whitmores, and felt anger rise through the fear. Who was in that car? Declan walked to the bar and poured a drink. Men testing a boundary. What boundary? Mine. "Because I was with you." His silence answered. Savannah stepped closer. "Say it." Declan turned glass in hand. "Victor Kane has been looking for weakness. Tonight I may have given him one." The words landed like a hand around her throat. A weakness. His face hardened the moment he realized what he had said. "That is not what I meant." "Yes, it is." "Savannah, no, that is exactly what you meant. I stood beside you, so now I am a thing someone can use. That is how men like Kane think. And how do men like you think?" His eyes flashed. "That I should have never let you come tonight." The room went silent. Savannah felt the sentence strike and settle. All of it. Declan set the glass down untouched. "The wedding is over. The arrangement is complete. In the morning, you go back to your apartment. Cole will have men nearby for a few days." Savannah stared at him. "You are sending me away. I am removing you from a situation that should not have touched you." "You mean from you?" Declan looked away. That hurt more than if he had agreed. Savannah's voice lowered. "Was any of it real?" He turned back, face locked down. "The purpose was real." "The purpose? You wanted Grant Whitmore to see you standing." "He did. You wanted his world to understand you were not broken." "They do. And what did you want?" His jaw flexed. "I wanted to help you win." "Liar." The word came out quietly, but it changed the room. Declan's eyes darkened. "Careful." "No. You do not get to teach me how to stop being afraid and then threaten me with your voice when I use it." He took one step toward her. "I am trying to protect you. Grant said that tonight." Declan froze. Savannah saw the hit land. He said he was worried. He said I did not understand what I was doing. He said I was making a mistake because I was hurt. It sounded very noble until I heard the cage under it. Declan's voice was low. I am not Grant. No, she said. Grant made me small because it suited him. You are doing it because it scares you that I matter. For the first time, Declan looked almost wounded. Then the mask returned. You do not know what you are talking about. I know exactly what I felt in that ballroom. I know what I felt in the car. I know what I feel standing here with you pretending this is business when every inch of this room says otherwise. His face went cold. You are confusing intensity with intimacy. Savannah went very still. He continued each word controlled. You were humiliated. I gave you structure. You were lonely. I gave you attention. You were hurt. I gave you something to hold on to. That is not love, Savannah. That is survival wearing a beautiful dress. The cruelty stole the air from her lungs. For a second, she could not speak. Then she nodded slowly. Thank you. Declan's expression flickered. For what? For reminding me that dangerous men can still sound like cowards. She turned before he could answer. Her heels clicked against the marble as she crossed the room. She did not run. She would not give him that. She walked into the guest suite, closed the door, and locked it. Only then did she let her hands shake. The dress came off with difficulty. Her fingers fumbled with the zipper. Pins fell from her hair and scattered across the bathroom counter. Mascara smudged beneath her eyes when she washed her face. She looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. Not because of the makeup, because the woman staring back was furious. Hurt, yes. Heartbroken, maybe. But not small. She did not sleep. Near 3 a.m, she heard footsteps stop outside her door. Declan. She knew it without seeing him. The silence stretched. Savannah sat on the edge of the bed, knees drawn to her chest, waiting for a knock. None came. After a long moment, the footsteps moved away. By sunrise, she had packed the few things she had brought from her apartment. The clothes Declan had bought stayed in the wardrobe. The shoes stayed in their boxes. The emerald dress hung where Ruth had placed it, smooth and silent as if the night before had not happened. The grandmother's ring went into Savannah's coat pocket. When she opened the bedroom door, Ruth stood in the hallway. Her face was composed, but her eyes missed nothing. Mr. Wolfe arranged a car. Savannah lifted her bag onto her shoulder. That will not be necessary, he insisted. I am sure he did. Ruth did not move. Savannah softened her voice. Please tell him I said no. Ruth studied her for a moment, then nodded. Very well. Savannah walked to the elevator. At the doors, Ruth said Miss Reed. Savannah turned. Ruth's expression remained stern, but her voice was quieter. You were never hard to see. Savannah swallowed. Thank you. The elevator doors closed before her eyes could burn. The subway ride back to Somerville felt unreal. People went to work. A man read the sports section. A woman balanced coffee and a stroller. A teenager slept with a backpack clutched to his chest. No one knew Savannah had spent the night in the penthouse of a crime boss after walking into her ex-fiancé's wedding like a queen. No one knew she felt both born and ruined. Her apartment looked exactly the same when she returned. That was the problem. The mugs were still in the sink. The laundry still waited by the couch. Mail still leaned against the blue vase. Her old life had not paused out of respect for her transformation. Savannah set her bag down and stood in the middle of the room. It felt smaller than before. Or maybe she was simply done folding herself to fit it. She changed into jeans and an old sweater. She cleaned the kitchen. She threw out dead flowers. She opened her laptop and stared at work emails until the words blurred. At noon, Mia arrived without knocking first. She took one look at Savannah and dropped the paper bag of pastries on the counter. Oh, honey. Savannah shook her head. If you hug me, I will fall apart. Mia stepped back immediately. Then I will stand here aggressively. That almost made Savannah smile. Mia looked her over. Wedding survived. Grant smaller than I remembered. Declan Savannah looked away. Mia's face changed. Ah, do not say it like that. Like what? Like you predicted it. I predicted a handsome murderer would be emotionally unavailable. That was not prophecy. That was pattern recognition. Savannah sank onto the couch. He sent me home. Mia sat beside her, not too close. Good. Savannah looked at her. Mia held up both hands. Emotionally terrible. Practically probably correct. You sound like him. I take that back. I never want to sound like him. Savannah stared at her hands. He said I was confusing survival with love. Mia's expression sharpened. That is a cruel thing to say. The worst part is I do not know if he was wrong. Mia was quiet. Savannah continued, voice thin but steady. I know I was lonely. I know I was hurt. I know he gave me something when I felt like I had nothing. But it was not just that. It was the way he saw me before I could. The way he pushed and pushed until I got angry enough to stand up. The way he looked at me last night after Grant grabbed my wrist. Her fingers closed into fists. I do not want to need him. Mia touched her shoulder gently. Then do not. Want him or miss him or be furious with him. But do not need him. Savannah closed her eyes. Outside, a truck rumbled past. Somewhere upstairs a child laughed. The sound felt oddly cruel. I think I need to quit my job. Mia blinked. That was a turn. I cannot go back there and sit beside the copier while people call me Samantha. Okay. You have been emotionally resurrected by a crime lord and insulted by your married ex. Quitting a bad job is the least alarming thing on today's menu. Savannah laughed, and this time it hurt less. After Mia left, Savannah opened a blank document. Resignation letter. The title looked too formal for what it meant. She typed slowly at first, then faster. She did not mention Grant. She did not mention Declan. She did not mention the wedding, the dress, the black sedan, or the way her life had cracked open in 2 weeks. She simply wrote that she was grateful for the opportunity, but it was time for her to move on. When she finished, she did not send it immediately. She sat with her finger above the trackpad. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. Savannah stared at it. The apartment seemed to hold its breath. She answered. Savannah Reed. A man's voice. Calm. Familiar enough to chill her. Yes, this is Cole Mercer. Her fingers tightened around the phone. Is Declan hurt? No. The answer came too quickly. Savannah stood. Cole. He is alive. But you need to listen carefully. A cold thread moved down her spine. Okay, if anyone contacts you about last night, you do not answer questions. If anyone comes to your apartment, you do not open the door. If you see a black sedan, a gray pickup, or anyone waiting near your building, you call me immediately. Savannah looked toward the window. Why? A pause. Victor Kane has people asking about you. The name sounded ordinary. It was not. Who is Victor Kane? He is a man Declan should have killed years ago. Savannah's stomach turned. Does Declan know you are calling me? Another pause. Yes. She almost laughed. He sends you to warn me instead of calling himself. Cole did not answer that. Savannah, this is not about whatever happened between you two. That is comforting. I am not trying to comfort you, no. Everyone in Declan's world seems very committed to function over comfort. Cole was silent for a beat. Then, unexpectedly, he said, he was wrong to send you home like that. Savannah's breath caught. Cole continued before she could respond. But he was not wrong that Kane is dangerous. What does Kane want to hurt Declan? Right now, he thinks you are a clean way to do that. Savannah moved away from the window. Her heart began to pound. What does that mean? It means you pack a bag. I am sending a car. No. Cole sighed. I see why he likes you. Do not. Miss Reed, no. I spent the morning refusing one Wolf-arranged car. I am not accepting another because a man I have never met decided I am useful. This is not pride. It is not obedience either. Cole's voice hardened. Victor Kane traffics fear for a living. He does not bluff unless the bluff cuts. If he sent men after the car last night, he already knows your name, your face, and probably your address. Savannah went still. Outside, footsteps sounded in the hallway. She turned toward her apartment door. Cole heard the change in her breathing. What is it? Someone is outside. Get away from the door. The footsteps stopped. A shadow shifted under the gap. Savannah backed toward the kitchen. The doorknob did not move. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then an envelope slid beneath the door. White, plain. Savannah stared at it. Cole's voice was sharp. Do not touch it. But Savannah was already moving. I said, do not touch it. She picked it up by the corner. Her name was written across the front in black ink. Savannah Reed. No address, no stamp, hand delivered. She opened it. Inside was a photograph. Savannah leaving the Whitmore estate in the emerald dress, Declan's hand at her back. On the back, written in thick black marker, were 4 words. Even queens bleed. Savannah could not breathe. Cole said her name twice before she heard him. I am coming now, he said. No. Savannah, I am going to Declan. Absolutely not. Someone was at my door. They know where I live. If I stay here, I am waiting to be taken. Lock yourself in the bathroom and stay on the phone. Savannah grabbed her coat. I am done waiting in rooms while men decide where I am safest. Cole cursed. Savannah, listen to me. She hung up. Her hands moved quickly now. Not smoothly, not calmly, but quickly. Phone, ring box, keys, shoes. She looked once around the apartment. The old life, the small life, the safe life that had not stayed safe. Then she opened the door. The hallway was empty. At the bottom of the stairs, the front door to the building clicked shut. Savannah ran. By the time she reached the sidewalk, a gray pickup was pulling away from the curb. For a second, the driver looked at her in the side mirror. A man with a shaved head, a smile that did not belong on any human face. Then the truck disappeared into traffic. Savannah did not go to the subway. She hailed a cab with one arm in the air and fear burning through her blood. Seaport, she told the driver, fast. The cab smelled like pine air freshener and old coffee. Savannah sat forward the whole ride, watching every car behind them. Twice she thought she saw the same pickup. Twice it turned away. Her phone buzzed again and again. Cole, Mia, unknown number. She ignored them all until Declan's name appeared. For 1 second she froze. Then she answered. His voice came through low and furious. Where are you? On my way to you. Turn around. No. Savannah. Someone came to my apartment. Silence. Then his voice changed. What happened? They left a photograph. The line went very quiet. Savannah looked out the window as the Seaport towers rose ahead. It said, even queens bleed. Declan said something away from the phone. Not to her. An order, sharp and lethal. Then he came back. Where exactly are you? 2 minutes from your building. Stay in the cab until I come down. You are not coming down. Savannah. The cab turned onto his street, and that was when the world split open. A black SUV at the curb exploded sideways with gunfire. Glass burst, men shouted. The cab driver screamed and slammed the brakes. Savannah's body snapped forward against the seatbelt as bullets tore through the air ahead. For one frozen second, everything became sound. Metal, glass, tires, a voice yelling Declan's name. Then she saw him. Declan was near the building entrance, half turned toward the attack, one hand inside his jacket. Cole shoved him hard behind a concrete pillar, just as another burst of gunfire chewed through the SUV door. Savannah threw money at the driver without knowing how much. "Stay down!" he shouted. She was already out of the cab. Cold air hit her. Smoke burned her throat. People screamed on the sidewalk. Somewhere a car alarm wailed. Declan. His head snapped toward her. The look on his face was pure terror. Not for himself, for her. "Get down." Savannah ducked behind a parked car as another shot cracked across the street. Cole fired back from behind the pillar. Two of Declan's men moved with terrifying precision, dragging one wounded guard out of the open. The attacking car peeled away from the curb tires, shrieking. Then it was over. Not quiet, never quiet. Just no more bullets. Savannah rose on shaking legs. Declan was moving toward her before anyone could stop him. Blood darkened the side of his white shirt beneath his jacket. Savannah saw it and forgot how to breathe. "You are hit. It is nothing." She reached for him. "It is blood. I have had blood before. Do not make jokes. I am not known for them." Cole appeared beside them, jaw tight. "Inside. Now." Declan's hand closed around Savannah's arm, not hard but firm enough to keep her moving. This time she did not pull away. They entered through the private lobby and were swept into the elevator with Cole and two armed men. Savannah stared at Declan's side. He stood as if the wound were an inconvenience. Blood continued to spread. "You need a hospital." "No." "Declan, no hospitals." The elevator doors closed. Savannah looked at Cole. "Do something." Cole's face was grim. "The doctor is upstairs." Of course there is a doctor upstairs. Declan leaned against the wall, his color slightly off. Savannah hated him for bleeding quietly. When they reached the penthouse, Ruth was already there with towels, gloves, and a woman in scrubs who looked as if she had been woken from sleep and immediately prepared for surgery. Declan was taken to the study. Savannah followed. No one told her not to. Maybe they saw her face and decided against it. The doctor cut away Declan's shirt. The bullet had grazed his side deep enough to bleed badly, not deep enough to kill him. Savannah stood near the bookshelves, arms wrapped around herself, watching him sit upright through stitches without making a sound. At one point, his eyes met hers. "You should not be here." Savannah's laugh came out rough. "You are still doing that." The doctor glanced between them and wisely said nothing. When it was over, Declan stood too quickly. Savannah stepped forward. "Sit down." He looked at her. She did not blink. For once, he sat. Cole entered a minute later with the photograph in a plastic bag. Declan's face went still when he saw it. Savannah watched the room react. Cole's jaw tightened. Ruth's hand paused on the tray. One of the guards crossed himself. Declan held the bag by one corner. His eyes moved over the image, then the message. "Even queens bleed." His voice was soft when he spoke. That made it worse. "Victor Kane." Savannah said, "Tell me who he is." Declan did not answer. She stepped closer. "No more sending me away. No more half-truths. No more treating me like I can survive ignorance better than fear." Cole looked at Declan. Ruth left the room, closing the door behind her. Declan set the photograph on the desk. "Victor Kane used to work with me." Savannah waited. He wanted to expand through clubs, shipping routes, private parties. Drugs first, then girls, young ones, runaways, immigrants, women no one would look for quickly. Savannah's stomach turned. I said no. Cole spoke from near the door. Declan did more than say no. Declan's eyes cut to him. Cole ignored it. He burned 3 of Kane's operations in 1 week. Took his money. Took his men. Put 2 of his buyers in the harbor. Savannah looked at Declan. His face revealed nothing. Declan said Kane left Boston. Now he wants back, and I am leverage. Yes, the honesty hurt, but she preferred it to protection dressed as silence. What does he want from you, territory? Access, revenge, and if you do not give it? Declan's eyes moved to the photograph. He escalates. Savannah sat down slowly. The room seemed colder. Declan watched her. This is why you should leave. She looked up. Where I can put you somewhere safe. There it is again. His voice sharpened. Do not turn this into a philosophical argument. Men shot at my building today. Yes. After they found my apartment. Exactly. No, not exactly. Savannah stood. Leaving does not erase me from his mind. It only puts me somewhere I cannot see the danger coming. Declan rose too. You are not trained for this. Then train me. No. The answer was immediate. Savannah stepped closer. You taught me how to stand in a ballroom full of people who wanted to watch me bleed politely. Teach me how to stand in this. This is not a ballroom, I know. No, you do not. His control cracked at the edges. You think courage is enough because you have never watched it get someone killed. And you think control is love because you have never trusted anyone to choose you without being forced. The words hit hard. Cole looked away. Declan stared at her, breathing shallowly through pain and fury. Savannah lowered her voice. I am scared. I am not pretending otherwise. But I am more scared of going back to being moved around by men who call it protection. Declan said nothing. She continued. Grant did it with concern. You do it with orders. I am telling you now, Declan, I will not live in either cage. The silence after that felt alive. Finally, Declan looked at Cole. Tomorrow morning. Gym. Basic holds, exits, situational awareness. Cole's eyebrows lifted. You sure no? Declan looked back at Savannah. But she is not leaving. The next morning, Savannah learned that bravery did not make her good in a fight. Cole put her on a padded floor in the private gym below Declan's penthouse and showed her how quickly a person could lose control of their own body. He grabbed her wrist. She twisted the wrong way. Dead, Cole said. She glared. That seems dramatic. He breaks your wrist, pulls you into the car, and you vanish. Dead is the polite version. Again. He grabbed, she twisted. Wrong. Again. By the 5th try, her wrist ached. By the 10th, frustration burned behind her eyes. Cole did not soften. Pain is information. Use it. Declan watched from the doorway, one hand pressed near his bandaged side, his face a storm held behind glass. Savannah ignored him. Mostly. Cole taught her how to break a grip, how to drive her palm into a nose, how to use keys between her fingers if she had nothing else, how to run toward light noise witnesses. He taught her that survival was not pretty and that hesitation had weight. She fell hard twice. The 3rd time she stayed down for a second too long. Declan moved. Cole lifted one hand without looking at him. She gets up herself. Savannah hated them both. Then she got up. By evening she was bruised, sore, and too tired to pretend composure. She found Declan in the kitchen standing at the counter with a glass of water and a bottle of painkillers he had clearly not taken. You are an awful patient, she said. You are an awful student. I got out of the wrist hold once. Cole allowed it. She took the bottle from him, opened it, shook 2 pills into her palm, and held them out. Take them. He looked at her hand, then at her face. For once, he obeyed. Savannah leaned against the counter. I need to ask you something. You will, regardless. How many people have you killed? The question did not surprise him, or if it did, he hit it well. Declan set the glass down. Enough. That is not an answer. It is the one people usually prefer. I am not people. No, he said quietly. You are not. Savannah held his gaze. Were they all bad? The silence stretched. His answer came low. No. The truth entered the room and stayed there. Savannah looked down at her bruised wrist. Why tell me that? Because I will not let you stay beside a fantasy. Not yours, not mine. Do you regret it? Some. Only some. His eyes darkened. Some men were going to hurt people who had no one else standing between them. Some men were boys with guns trying to become monsters before anyone taught them not to. Some men begged, some cursed, some deserved worse than I gave them. Savannah swallowed. And you live with that no, he said. I carry it. Living is different. The answer should have pushed her away. Instead, it made him more real, and that frightened her. Declan stepped closer, stopping before he touched her. If you stay, you do it with open eyes. Not because I saved you from embarrassment. Not because I made you feel seen. Not because you are lonely. Savannah's voice was soft. And if I stay because I choose to pain moved through his expression. Then I spend every day wondering if choosing me costs you too much. Savannah reached for his hand. He let her take it. His fingers closed around hers carefully as if he had no right to hold something breakable. She almost told him then that she loved him, that it terrified her, that she did not know whether love could grow in soil like this without turning poisonous. But before she could speak, Cole entered the kitchen. His face made Declan release her hand. We have a problem. Declan turned. What Cole placed a tablet on the counter. Security footage filled the screen. A man in a cap stood outside Savannah's apartment building, slipping an envelope under the door. Then he looked up at the hallway camera and smiled. Cole tapped the screen. Facial match came back. Declan's face went hard. Kane's brother. Savannah looked between them. I thought Victor Kane sent men. Cole's voice was grim. He did. Declan stared at the frozen image. Savannah saw the danger in his stillness. Cole said, There is more. He swiped to another image. A shipyard. Rusted containers. Night footage from a distance. Victor Kane stood beneath a broken floodlight speaking to 3 men. Cole said, He is back in Boston. Declan's eyes did not leave the screen. Where South Boston Shipyard 2 hours ago. Savannah felt the room tighten around her. Declan's voice dropped into something quiet and lethal. Call everyone. Cole nodded. Declan looked at the image of Victor Kane. Find him before he knocks on another door. Declan did not move for several seconds. The tablet glowed on the kitchen counter. Victor Kane, frozen beneath the broken shipyard light with his face tilted toward the camera. He looked younger than Savannah expected. Not young exactly, but handsome in a ruined way with sharp cheekbones, pale eyes, and the lazy smile of a man who enjoyed making people wait for pain. Declan stared at the image as if he could reach through the screen and close his hand around Kane's throat. Cole stood beside him silent. Savannah felt the ache in her wrist from training, the bruise on her shoulder, the raw place in her chest where fear had been sitting since the photograph slid beneath her door. Is he still there? She asked. Cole looked at her, then at Declan. Maybe. Declan answered before Cole could soften it. No. Kane knows we have cameras watching the old yards. He wanted to be seen. Savannah looked back at the screen. Then it is bait. Declan's eyes lifted to hers. Yes, and you are going anyway. He turned off the tablet. Yes. The word hit the room like a door locking. Savannah stepped closer. You were shot this morning, grazed. You needed stitches. I have had worse. That is not the comfort you think it is. Cole glanced away wisely, choosing the far wall. Declan reached for his jacket from the back of a chair. Savannah moved in front of him. No. His expression sharpened. No, you do not get to teach me everything you taught me, and then expect me to stand quietly while you walk into an obvious trap. I am not expecting you to stand quietly. Good, I am expecting you to stay here. Savannah almost laughed. There it is. Declan's face hardened. This is not the same. It never is when you are the one giving the order. His voice lowered. Savannah, no. Listen to me. Kane came to my apartment. Kane put my face in an envelope. Kane sent men after your car and bullets into your building. You do not get to pretend I am outside this. Declan stepped closer, and for once his anger did not frighten her. It made him look more human, more desperate. You are outside it because I say you are. The sentence landed badly. They both knew it. Savannah held his gaze. I am not one of your territories, Declan. Something flickered across his face. Pain, maybe. Regret. Then the wall came back. No. You are the woman Kane will use if he gets the chance. And what are you going to do, kill every man who might someday see me, if that is what it takes? The room went silent. Savannah's heart beat hard once. Cole's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Savannah looked at Declan, really looked at him. At the bandage hidden beneath his shirt. At the bloodless control in his face. At the fear he kept disguising as command. That is not love, she said quietly. Declan went still. Savannah took one step toward him. I know you think it is. I know you think love means standing between me and every bullet, every threat, every ugly truth. But if the only way you know how to love me is to lock me behind your fear, then you are not saving me. You are building another room I have to escape. His eyes changed. For a second, the room disappeared around them. There was only his face, the hurt in it, the way he wanted to answer and did not know how. Cole cleared his throat. Boss. Declan did not look away from Savannah. Cole continued, careful now. If we are moving, we need to move. Declan's gaze stayed on her for one more heartbeat. Then he looked at Cole. 2 cars, no convoy. Quiet approach from the west. I want Mercer, Hayes, and Russo inside the perimeter. Nobody fires unless I give the order. Cole nodded, and Miss Reed Declan turned back to Savannah. She stays here with Ruth and 4 men. Savannah said nothing. That was why Declan narrowed his eyes. You are agreeing too easily. I am tired of arguing. No, you are not. She folded her arms. Maybe I am learning strategy. Cole coughed into his fist. Declan looked between them. If you leave this building, I will know. Savannah met his stare. I believe you. That was not a promise. He knew it. For a moment, she thought he would cancel everything just to keep her in sight. Then his phone buzzed, and whatever message appeared on the screen turned his expression to stone. He walked toward the door. At the threshold, he stopped. Without turning, he said, I am coming back. Savannah's throat tightened. You better. Then he was gone. The penthouse changed after Declan left. Not visibly. The lights still glowed over black marble. The harbor still trembled beyond the windows. Ruth still moved through the rooms with calm precision, setting down tea. Savannah did not drink and giving orders to guards twice her size. But the place felt hollow, like a body holding its breath. Savannah stood near the window watching the city below. Every pair of headlights looked like a warning. Every shadow at the edge of the street seemed to move with intention. Her phone buzzed. "Mia, are you alive?" Savannah typed back. "Yes." Mia replied instantly. "That is not a full update." Savannah stared at the screen. Then she wrote, "I need a favor." 3 dots appeared. "I hate this already." Savannah almost smiled, but it vanished when she looked toward the kitchen counter. The tablet was still there. Cole had forgotten it. Or maybe he had left it because he thought she could not use it. Savannah crossed the room and picked it up. The screen woke at her touch. Security footage, still images, maps, timestamps, files with names she did not recognize. She did not know how to navigate most of it, but she found the image of Kane at the shipyard again. She zoomed in, Victor Kane under the floodlight. 3 men near him. Rusted containers behind them, a chain-link fence, a painted number on one container faded but visible, B17. Savannah stared. Something bothered her, not the men, not Kane, the light. She zoomed in again until the image blurred. The broken floodlight above Kane's head threw light from the wrong side. She remembered the angle of shadows from one of Cole's briefings. The old shipyard had 2 entrances, west side by the access road, east side by the water. If the camera was where Cole said it was, Kane's shadow should have fallen behind him. Instead, it fell forward. Savannah's pulse quickened. She swiped to the next image. A wider shot. Fog, containers, a crane in the background. The crane was wrong, too. She had seen it that morning in one of the surveillance stills Cole had shown Declan. The crane sat on the north side of the yard. In this image, it was behind Kane's left shoulder. She whispered, "That is not the west yard." Ruth appeared in the doorway. Misread Savannah looked up. Where did Declan go? Ruth's face did not change, but her eyes sharpened. "You know, I cannot answer that." South Boston. Shipyard, west entrance. Ruth said nothing. Savannah's stomach turned cold. "It is wrong." Ruth stepped closer. "What is wrong?" Savannah turned the tablet toward her. The footage. Kane wanted Declan to approach from the west, but this image was not shot from the west side of the yard. The shadows are wrong. The crane is wrong. Kane is not where they think he is. Ruth looked at the image. For the first time since Savannah had met her, the older woman's composure cracked. Only slightly, enough. Savannah grabbed her phone and called Declan. No answer. She called again. No answer. Then Cole. No answer. Ruth took out her own phone and made a call, speaking fast and low. Savannah listened to the silence between rings. Nothing. Ruth's mouth tightened. Signal may be jammed near the yard. Savannah's heart hammered. How far 20 minutes with no traffic? Savannah was already moving toward the door. Ruth stepped in front of her. No, Savannah stopped. "Ruth, I am not one of Mr. Wolf's men. You cannot argue me into stupidity. He is walking into the wrong trap, and you are not trained enough to save him." Savannah's fear flared into anger. "No, I am trained enough to see something they missed." Ruth's face tightened. For one breath, they stood like that. 2 women in a room built by a man who thought protection was a locked door. Then Ruth reached into the drawer of the entry table and pulled out a small black device. "Press this once and it calls me. Hold it down and it sends your location to every wolf man in Boston." Savannah stared at her. "You are letting me go. I am letting you choose." Savannah took the device. Ruth opened the private elevator with a code. And Miss Reed Savannah turned. Ruth's voice was low. "Do not try to be brave. Be useful." Savannah nodded once. The elevator doors closed. Mia's borrowed car was waiting outside because Mia Dawson was the kind of woman who complained while doing exactly what needed to be done. She leaned out the driver's window of a small blue sedan and stared at Savannah. "You said favor. You did not say organized crime field trip." Savannah ran to the passenger door and got in. "Drive to South Boston." Mia pulled away from the curb. "Wonderful. I love a vague destination during a panic." Savannah buckled her seatbelt with shaking fingers. "Old shipyard near the water." Mia looked at her. "Savannah, please." Mia's face changed at the sound of her voice. Then she pressed the gas. The city blurred around them. Savannah tried Declan again. Nothing. Cole. Nothing. Her hands wanted to shake, so she pressed them flat against her thighs. Mia drove too fast and cursed at every red light. "So," Mia said, voice tight, "on a scale from bad date to federal witness protection, where are we?" Savannah looked out the window. "I think Declan is walking into an ambush." "Right. So federal witness protection with waterfront views." "Mia, I know. I am coping." They reached the shipyard district under a sky thick with low clouds. Warehouses lined the road, most of them dark. Chain-link fences rattled in the wind. The smell of salt rust and old oil seeped into the car. Savannah saw the first black SUV near a side road empty. Then another. No movement. No lights. Mia slowed. "This is where I become the sensible friend and tell you not to get out." Savannah looked at her. Mia gripped the steering wheel. "I hate your face right now. I love you. No, do not make this emotional. Mia, get out before I lock the doors." Savannah opened the door. Mia reached across and grabbed her sleeve. "Come back." Savannah held her gaze. "I will." Mia's eyes shone with anger and fear. "You better, because I am not explaining this to your grandmother's ghost." Savannah stepped out and shut the door softly. The wind hit her first. Cold. Wet. Full of metal. She moved toward the fence, keeping low near a row of abandoned trucks. Cole's training rose in fragments. "Stay near cover. Look for exits. Do not run in open ground unless open ground is the only choice. Do not scream unless someone can hear you who is not trying to kill you." A gunshot cracked somewhere inside the yard. Savannah froze. Another shot. Then several more. Her body wanted to drop. Instead, she forced herself to move. She found a gap in the fence where the chain link had been cut and peeled back. Beyond it, containers stood in rows like dark walls. Fog rolled low between them. Savannah slipped through. Her heart beat so hard it seemed too loud. She followed the sound of gunfire, then stopped when she saw movement ahead. A man, crouched behind a rusted forklift gun, raised toward the far row of containers. Savannah saw his angle. He was not shooting at her. He was waiting for someone to cross. Declan. She looked around desperately. No weapon. Only broken glass gravel, a length of chain, and an old metal pipe near a stack of pallets. She picked up the pipe. It was heavier than she expected. The man shifted, speaking into a radio. "Wolf is boxed. Kane wants him alive." Savannah's blood went cold. The man rose slightly. Savannah did the only thing she could think to do. She threw a chunk of loose concrete at the window of the nearest truck. Glass shattered. The man spun toward the sound. Savannah swung the pipe with both hands into the back of his knee. He shouted and went down hard. The gun clattered across the ground. Savannah did not pick it up. She ran. Behind her, the man cursed, but he did not get up fast. Savannah turned between two containers and nearly collided with Cole. He caught her by both shoulders, eyes wide. "What the hell are you doing here?" "The footage was wrong," she gasped. "Kane is not where you thought." The west approach was bait. Cole's face changed. Then another shot rang out close enough to spark off the container beside them. Cole shoved her behind him and fired twice into the fog. Stay behind me. Where is Declan? Cole did not answer fast enough. Savannah grabbed his sleeve. Cole. He went after Kane. Alone, Cole's jaw tightened. Signal went dead. We got split. Savannah looked past him. A voice echoed through the yard, amplified and distorted. Declan Wolfe. Still making messes in other men's cities. Victor Kane. His voice was smooth, almost amused. Cole cursed under his breath. The loudspeaker crackled. You always did think rules made you better than me. No girls, no kids, no selling flesh in your precious Boston. Such a noble monster. Savannah followed the sound before Cole could stop her. She moved along the containers, crouched low breath, burning in her throat. Kane's voice continued. But monsters do not become men because they choose prettier sins. Savannah reached the corner of a container and looked out. Declan stood near the old loading dock, one hand pressed to his wounded side gun raised. Blood marked his shirt again where his stitches must have torn. Victor Kane stood 20 feet away with 2 men behind him, and a gun pointed at Declan. Declan looked calm. Too calm. Savannah knew him well enough now to understand what that meant. He was calculating whether he could kill all 3 before one of them killed him. Kane smiled. You look tired. Declan's voice carried through the fog. You talk too much, and you bleed too quietly. That was always your problem. No flair. Declan's gun did not move. This ends tonight. Kane laughed. Does it? Because, from where I stand, this is the first honest moment we have had in years. One of Kane's men shifted toward the side. Declan's eyes tracked him. Savannah saw what Kane was doing, drawing his focus. Opening an angle, she moved before she decided to. The pipe was still in her hand. She stepped from behind the container and swung it into the side of the nearest man's arm. His gun went off wild, the shot cracking into the sky. Everything exploded at once. Declan shouted her name. Cole fired from behind cover. Kane lunged. Savannah tried to duck, but an arm locked around her throat from behind. The second man yanked her backward, using her body as a shield. The pipe fell from her hand. Cold metal pressed under her ribs. Kane's gun. Or the other man's. It did not matter. Declan went still. His face changed in a way Savannah would remember for the rest of her life. The crime king vanished. Only the man remained, terrified. Kane stepped behind Savannah, his breath warm near her ear. Well, he said, there she is. Declan's gun stayed raised, but his hand had gone white around the grip. Let her go. Kane laughed softly. I wondered what kind of woman could make Declan Wolfe stupid. I expected someone louder. Savannah's throat tightened under the man's arm, but she forced herself to breathe through her nose. Kane tilted his head. You are prettier in person, Savannah Reed. The green dress was better, though. Declan's eyes darkened. Kane noticed. Oh, that hurts him. Good. Savannah met Declan's gaze. He was looking at her like the world had narrowed to the space between her skin and the gun. Kane said, drop it. Declan did. The gun hit the ground. Cole shouted from somewhere to the left, but Declan did not look away from Savannah. Kane smiled. This is the thing about love, Wolfe. It makes men negotiable. Savannah remembered Cole's voice. Pain is information. Hesitation has weight. She remembered Ruth. Do not try to be brave. Be useful. She let her body sag slightly as if fear had weakened her knees. The man holding her adjusted his grip. Just enough. Savannah drove her heel down onto his instep with everything she had. He grunted. She turned her chin into the space near his elbow and dropped her weight, twisting the way Cole had drilled into her again and again. Pain tore through her shoulder, but the arm around her throat slipped. Kane fired. Declan moved faster than thought. He hit Kane from the side, driving both of them into the gravel. The gun skidded away. Cole tackled the second man before he could grab Savannah again. Savannah crawled behind a concrete block as another shot cracked through the fog. Then silence. Heavy. Ragged. Declan stood over Kane with a gun in his hand. Kane lay on the ground, bleeding from the shoulder, laughing through his teeth. "Go on," Kane said. "Show her." Declan's face was empty. Kane smiled wider. "Show your girl what kind of man she chose." Savannah rose slowly. "Declan." He did not look at her. Kane kept laughing. "You cannot train a wolf." Declan's finger tightened. Savannah stepped closer. "Declan." This time he looked at her. She saw the war in him, not between good and evil. That would have been too simple. This was between habit and choice, between the man Boston feared and the man who had stood in front of her mirror and told her she had survived. Kane whispered, "Weak." Declan lowered the gun. Cole moved in immediately, kicking Kane's weapon away and cuffing his hands behind his back. Kane's face twisted. Declan looked at him. "You wanted me to prove I was a monster." He stepped closer. "I do not perform on command." Kane spat blood onto the gravel. "You think this is mercy." Declan's voice was cold. "No, mercy would be letting you disappear quietly." Red and blue lights flashed beyond the fence. Savannah turned. Police. Not just police. Federal agents. Cole exhaled. Declan looked at him. Cole said, "The files went out 15 minutes ago. Kane's buyer's cops judges all of it." Kane stopped laughing. Declan crouched near him. "You wanted Boston back. Now every man who sold himself to you will swear you forced him. Every woman you threatened will be given protection, and every dollar you hid will be used to bury you alive in court." Kane stared at him with hate burning through the blood and fog. Declan stood. "Enjoy the cage." Savannah watched as agents rushed the yard. Men shouted. Weapons were collected. Kane was dragged upright, still cursing, still bleeding, no longer untouchable. Declan turned toward Savannah. For one moment, neither of them moved. Then she saw the blood at his side, the torn stitches, the pale cast of his face. She crossed the distance and caught him just as his knees weakened. "I have you," she said. His hand gripped her arm. "You should not be here." Savannah looked up at him, furious and shaking. "Say that again, and I will let you fall." A faint, pained smile touched his mouth. "There she is." The words broke something open in her. Not fear this time, not grief. Love. Messy, impossible, badly timed love. She pressed her forehead briefly against his chest. "You came back," he murmured. "So did you." Cole appeared beside them. "Doctor, now." Declan tried to straighten. Savannah glared. "Do not even think about pretending you are fine." Cole looked at Declan. "She's getting better at giving orders." Declan's eyes stayed on Savannah. "Yes?" he said quietly. "She is." Hours later, the penthouse smelled of antiseptic coffee and rain. Declan sat on the edge of his bed while the doctor finished restitching his side. Savannah stood by the window with a blanket around her shoulders and dried blood on the sleeve of her sweater that no one had told her how to wash out. Ruth had tried to make her sit. Savannah had refused. Mia had been called and told enough of the truth to keep her from storming the building with a kitchen knife. She had shouted through the phone for 3 full minutes, then cried, then threatened Declan's life if Savannah did not call again by morning. Declan had listened to that part with something almost like respect. When the doctor left the room, became quiet. Declan looked exhausted. Not weak, never that, but stripped of the control he used like armor. Savannah stood near the foot of the bed. You scared me. He looked at her. You walked into a gunfight. You walked into a trap. You could have died, so could you. His jaw tightened. That is not the same. Savannah's eyes narrowed. Careful. A flicker of recognition crossed his face. Then he looked down at his hands. No, he said. It is not different. I just hate it more when it is you. The honesty softened her anger but did not erase it. She came closer. I am not asking you to stop being afraid. He looked up. No. I am asking you to stop letting fear make my choices. Declan swallowed. The movement was small, but she saw it. I have spent most of my life keeping people alive by deciding faster than they could, he said. If I waited, they died. If I trusted the wrong person, they died. If I loved anything openly, someone used it. Savannah sat beside him, careful of his wound. I know. I do not think you do. Maybe not all of it. But I know what it is like to confuse survival with surrender. He looked at her then. Savannah reached for his hand. This time he did not hesitate. Grant made me small because it was easier for him, she said. You try to make me untouchable because it is easier for you. Both leave me alone inside someone else's decision. Pain moved through Declan's eyes. I never wanted that, I know. The room held them quietly. Rain slid down the windows. Boston glittered below, indifferent and alive. Declan's thumb moved over her knuckles. I love you, he said. No performance, no command, no armor. Just the words rough and low, like they had cost him blood. Savannah closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, he was watching her as if her answer might save or sentence him. I love you too, she said. His breath left him slowly. She squeezed his hand. But love is not permission. A shadow of a smile touched his mouth. No, and protection is not ownership, no. And if you ever send Cole to warn me instead of calling me yourself again, I will make sure Ruth hides every expensive shirt you own. That earned a real smile, small but unmistakable. Cruel woman, you chose me. His smile faded into something deeper. Yes, he said, I did. In the weeks that followed, Boston changed without announcing it. Victor Kane's arrest became a scandal that crawled through the city's newspapers and courtrooms. Names surfaced, officers resigned. A judge vanished to Florida and was dragged back by federal agents. 2 private clubs were raided. Women who had been treated like missing shadows were suddenly given names again. Declan did not become innocent. Savannah would have hated the lie of that. But he changed the shape of his power. He handed more territory to Cole, cut away the businesses that had always lived too close to the worst parts of the city, put money into shelters without letting his name touch the donations, made enemies by refusing old profits, made different enemies by surviving. Some nights he came home with blood on his cuff. Some nights he told Savannah why. Some nights she hated the answer, but he told her, and she stayed because staying had become an act of choice, not blindness. Savannah quit Bellamy and Cross. Marianne Cross accepted her resignation with polite surprise and a recommendation letter that used the word dependable twice. Savannah read it once, then placed it in a drawer and never looked at it again. 3 months later, she started work at a nonprofit that helped women leave violent homes, coercive marriages, and families that mistook control for love. Her first desk there sat near a window. No copier beside it. No one called her Samantha. On her first day, a young woman sat across from her with shaking hands and whispered, I do not know where to go. Savannah slid a box of tissues across the desk. Then she said, We will start with where you are. That night, Declan picked her up outside the office. He leaned against the car in a black coat, looking like danger dressed for winter. Savannah walked toward him with her bag over her shoulder. You know, she said most boyfriends bring flowers. I bought the building next door. She stopped. Declan, for expansion, you are impossible. You needed more space. She tried to glare. He opened the car door. I also brought flowers. She looked inside. A small bouquet of white tulips rested on the seat. Savannah shook her head, but she was smiling when she got in. Spring came slowly to Boston. The harbor softened. Rain turned warmer. The city shook off winter in pieces. One evening, Savannah and Declan attended a charity gala at the Boston Public Library. It was Mia's idea, which meant Savannah was not allowed to refuse. The nonprofit needed donors, and Mia had decided Savannah should practice asking rich people for money without looking like she wanted to apologize for it. Declan wore black. Savannah wore deep blue. Not the green dress from the wedding. That one stayed in her closet wrapped carefully not as armor anymore, but as proof. The gala glittered with chandeliers, polished floors, and conversations shaped like negotiations. Savannah moved through it with a glass of sparkling water in one hand, and Declan's presence at her side steady but not leading. She spoke to donors, asked direct questions, accepted no vague promises. Mia watched from across the room and mouthed terrifying. Savannah almost laughed. Then she saw Grant Whitmore. He stood near a marble column with Audrey beside him. They looked perfect from a distance. Up close, less so. Audrey's smile was fixed. Grant's eyes were tired. His wedding ring flashed when he lifted his glass. For a moment, the room seemed to fold back on itself. The restaurant, the invitation, the rain, the Black Harbor Club. Grant saw her. His expression changed. He did not approach. Savannah waited for pain. It did not come. Only recognition, not of him, of herself. Declan leaned close. You okay? Savannah looked away from Grant and toward the donors waiting near the staircase. Yes. You are sure, she smiled. I did not come here for him. Declan's hand settled at the small of her back light enough that she could step away if she wanted. She did not. No, he said, you did not. Later that night, they returned to the penthouse. The city shone beyond the balcony glass. Savannah kicked off her heels near the sofa, earning a look from Ruth, who appeared from nowhere, sighed dramatically and carried them away, as if removing evidence from a crime scene. Declan poured 2 glasses of water. Savannah laughed. Water. You have work tomorrow. You're becoming responsible. Do not spread rumors. She took her glass and walked to the balcony. Declan followed. The harbor was black and silver below them just as it had been the night she first came here. But everything else was different. She reached into her small evening bag and pulled out the velvet ring box. Declan looked at it. I wondered where that was. Savannah opened it. Her grandmother's emerald ring caught the city light. I almost traded this for one night of pretending. Declan's face softened. You kept it, yes. She touched the gold band. My grandmother told me never to give it to someone who made me smaller. Declan said nothing. Savannah looked at him. You did for a while. Pain crossed his face. I know, but you learned. I am still learning. So am I. She closed the box and placed it in his palm. Declan stared at it. Savannah, I am not giving it to you. His eyes lifted. She smiled. I am asking you to keep it safe with me, for someone who should never have to beg to be chosen. Understanding moved through his face slowly. A future, not promised clean, not simple, but real. He closed his fingers around the box, then reached for her with the other hand. Savannah let him pull her close. No performance, no bargain, no borrowed confidence. Below them, Boston moved in glittering lines of traffic and light. A city of secrets, a city of debts, A city where a woman once walked into the rain with a broken heart and asked the wrong man for the right lie. Declan pressed his lips to her hair. "You know," he said quietly, "I still hate weddings." Savannah smiled against his chest. "Good." He looked down at her. "Good, yes. If you ever ask me to one, I will know it matters." For once, Declan Wolfe had no answer ready. Savannah laughed softly, and in the silence that followed she felt it. Not safety, not certainty, something better. A life she had chosen with her eyes open. A love that did not ask her to disappear. And a place beside the wolf, not behind him, where she could finally stand.